Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the regular City Council meeting for the City of Temple City to order for May 5th, 2026. Madam City Clerk, can we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Chavez?
Here.
Councilmember Sternquist? Here. Councilmember Yu?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Chen?
Here.
Mayor Mann?
Here. Next, for our invocation, we are pleased to have Mr. Jerry Jambazian, owner of Wonder Cleaners and Draperies, located at 9136 Las Tunas Drive. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and please remain standing afterwards for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mayor, and happy Cinco de Mayo to at least two of our council members. Let's pray together. Our dear Heavenly Father, as we gather and come before you tonight to conduct the business set before us on the agenda, I pray that you would give us discernment and wisdom, not only for our elected officials on the dais tonight, but throughout our country, state, and federal government. Lord, we live in a troubled world that at times seems broken. Only you can change the hearts of men and cause them to be compassionate with fellow humans. Temple City is a wonderful place to live and work. To that end, our council is charged to create a safe living environment. We pray especially for our law enforcement, firefighters, first responders, public safety, and our armed services around the world, as we thank them for their service to us. This is also a night of celebration as we recognize our outstanding older American from Temple City tonight. We also honor the work and accomplishments of our Committee on Aging. Our Parks and Recreation Department provide wonderful programs for everyone. We eagerly await our popular 30th season of Concerts in the Park next month. Lord, every good thing comes from your hand, and we pause to thank you for that. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. At this time, if I could ask Mr. Ron McKiernan to lead us in the pledge.
Okay, let's begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, tonight we have several ceremonial matters for our presentation, which we will begin first with the proclamation for Older American Month. This is celebrated every May. The Older Americans Month is led by the Administration for Community Living. Established in 1963, OAM is a time to recognize older Americans' contributions, highlight aging trends, and reaffirm commitments to serving older adults in our communities. This year's theme, Champion Your Health, focuses on prevention, wellness, and personal responsibility as cornerstones of healthy aging. It encourages older adults to take an active role in their health, advocating for themselves, accessing preventative care, and making informed decisions that support independence. It is now my honor to proclaim May as Older American Month in Temple City. And after I read this proclamation, I would like to ask Council to present this proclamation to our Committee on Aging members who are present here tonight. Whereas May is Older Americans Month, a time for us to recognize and honor Temple City older adults and their immense influence on every facet of our society. Whereas through their wealth of life experience and wisdom, older adults guide our younger generations and carry forward abundant cultural and historical knowledge. Whereas older Americans improve our communities through intergenerational relationships, community service, civic engagement, and many other activities. Whereas Temple City must ensure that older Americans have the resources and support needed to stay involved in their communities, reflecting our commitment to creating a thriving older population. So now, therefore, I, William Mann, Mayor of Temple City, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim May 2026 to be Older Americans Month and celebrate this year's theme, Champion Your Health, which focuses on prevention, wellness, and personal responsibility as cornerstones of healthy aging. So at this time, I would like to invite the committee to the front as council and I have the honor of presenting this to you. And of course, Jerry will get a photo for us.
Should be part of the committee? Yeah. Jerry, there you go. Thank you.
Just if you're, if you can see the lens, then you'll. Yeah, Joanne, if you can find it. Yeah, no, that's good. All right, fantastic. All right, is everybody ready? All right. Oscar, you ready? 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, and 3. All right, fantastic.
Okay, sure.
Next, for the Older American of the Year, I'd like to invite up our rec leader, Ruby Ramos, who will introduce this year's recipient. Ruby?
Good evening, Mayor, Mann, and members of City Council. My name is Ruby Ramos, and I'm a recreation coordinator for the Recreation Department. One of the areas I oversee is the senior programming, which does entail the Older American Award. This year's theme was Champion Your Health, which recognizes a senior who encourages taking an active role in managing and advocating for one's health. This year's recipient has embodied the theme through his lifelong passion for cycling and dedication to the community. As owner of the Temple City Bike Shop, he promotes active living by helping the community maintain and safely enjoy their bicycles. He also mentors local Boy Scout troops by assisting them in completing their bike safety badges and donates bikes to the Women's Club as well as the Relay for Life for fundraising efforts. It is my honor to announce Mr. Ron McKiernan as the Temple City's Older American recipient for 2026.
Thank you, Ruby, and congratulations, Ron. On behalf of the council, we do have a certificate of recognition that we would like to present to you at this moment. But before we do that, I just want to make a note that in my previous cycling days, I had the opportunity of, this was before I really knew Ron very well. He was the one who tuned my bike back when I used to bike to work. So I don't know if you knew that. This was from maybe 15, 16 years ago. So it's always been a pleasant experience, the utmost professional, and the fact that you do so much for our community, including our youth. I mean, that just, words cannot describe how much that means to our city and to the many lives that you have impacted in such a positive way. So can't think of a better candidate to be receiving this award this year, Ron. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So if council can join me in presenting the certificate, and we'll get a photo in the front.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think it is. You saw recently that that's not.
Okay. Next, for item 5C, we have an update from our Committee on Aging. And tonight we have Anne and Lucy, who are the chair and vice chairs for the committee, who will be providing an update highlighting the accomplishments and progress made by the committee in 2025.
Good evening, Mayor Mann and members of the council. My name is Ann Seitz, and I serve as chair of the Committee on Aging. I'm joined tonight by our vice chair, Lucy Liu, and by several members of our committee. We are honored to present the 2025 end-of-the-year report, highlighting the accomplishments and progress made by the Committee on Aging over the past year. This report provides a summary of the committee's accomplishments, ongoing goals, and future goals, all guided by 24 action steps outlined in the Senior Master Plan. This evening, we would like to highlight the progress made in 2025 with a focus on health, wellness, and community engagement for older adults in our community. The Senior Master Plan was developed to identify key issues impacting older adults and to serve as a roadmap for enhancing senior programs and services citywide. In response, the Committee on Aging was established in 2018 to serve as a resource hub, build community partnerships, and help advance the goals of the master plan. Each year, the committee prepares an annual report to share progress on those action steps, and Lucy will share those with you now.
In 2025, one major focus was expanding social connection. Seniors participated in the city's first overnight trips, including visits to Laughlin and Hearst Castle. 108 seniors gathered for the annual Senior Luau, creating valuable opportunities for community engagement. Volunteerism also remained a priority, with 13 seniors volunteers contributing more than 2,200 hours of service. Their efforts supported the congregate meal program, led activities such as arts and crafts, guitar, which I like to learn, and ukulele clubs, and provided outreach at community events to connect seniors with available services and programs. The committee also expanded educational resources by partnering with 10 organizations to offer 34 presentations on topics including emergency preparedness, wellness, and senior support services, providing older adults with valuable tools and information. For those interested in learning more about the Committee on Aging, the full report card is available on the city's website under the Committee on Aging section. Or you can enroll in the senior newsletter, which is emailed out monthly, or by request at the Liefeld Park Community Center.
In closing, the annual report card reflects the progress that the Committee on Aging has made for seniors in the community. We are committed to expanding and exploring new partnerships to continue bringing in resources and new programs for seniors. We appreciate your time and support and your commitment to our senior residents. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I guess, does council have any questions or comments? I know we usually don't, but
I'll just make a comment as the city liaison to this committee. I have to say, there's nothing really aging about this group. They are very engaged, they're very vibrant, and they care a great deal for their community. And they always look for new ways to address the issues that affect our seniors in our community. So as I'm able to attend their meetings, I'm continually amazed by the work and the comments and the love they have for Temple City. So I want to thank you guys for all you do, and I look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you so much.
I couldn't have said it better. So I wholeheartedly concur, and thank you all for your dedication and time. We know that the meetings and the discussions all take time and energy, and we truly appreciate that. That's the best thing we can do to give back to our community. So many, many thanks.
And I'm still working on that joint meeting with the youth committee.
Oh,
All right?
okay.
We're going to get the youth committee.
That'll be
and
pretty
the-
neat.
Yeah, together. So
Very cool.
I promise that'll happen in the next few months. I already talked to Peggy about it, so we'll get moving on that.
Councilmember Sternquist.
I just wanted to ask how the Laughlin overnight trip. And I'm sure some of you went. Did anyone go?
No big
Did you
winners?
have a good time? Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's another story.
But it was very nice. It's going up to see places that at my age I don't want to drive up to anymore, like Hearst's Castle. It's just beautiful, and we have so much history. And to be able to share it with others is just fantastic. It's just fun.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
That's wonderful.
And are there more planned?
Huh?
Yes. More overnights planned?
We'll try to do once a year at least.
We might have to take one of those, huh?
We can go.
Yeah, we can go.
We could have gone a long time ago, actually.
Yeah, probably so.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. So we'll move on to item 6 on the agenda, public comments on items not listed on the agenda. I do have one speaker request form from a Mr. Alan Haustengar.
At the previous city council meeting, the subject of massage parlors was mentioned. I want to say that many massage parlors are actually fronts for prostitution, and you can verify this with law enforcement. Also, a large number of victims of human trafficking are forced to sell sexual pleasure inside of massage parlors. Law enforcement must turn massage parlors inside out and upside down to rescue these victims of human trafficking from the criminals who imprison them with threats of violence and death. I strongly advise the City Council to enact legislation which will permanently prevent massage parlors from doing their deceptive business in this city. Here is an excellent, now this is another topic. This is an excellent website you may want to look up. I'm going to spell it for you. ISGENESISHISTORY.com isgenesishistory.com. Now I'm going to continue with the genealogy of Jesus I started last time. I'm in the book of Matthew, chapter 1, verse 12. And Matthew's name means gift of the Lord. And after they were brought to Babylon, Jeconiah begot Shealtiel. Begot means he became the father of. And Shealtiel begot Zerubbabel. Zerubbabel begot Abiud. Abiud begot Eliakim. And Eliakim begot Azor. Azor begot Zadok. Zadok begot Akim. And Akim begot Eliud. Eliud begot Eleazar. Eleazar begot Mathan. And Mathan begot Jacob. I know this is a very long and to some people it may be somewhat boring genealogy, but remember that Matthew is giving Jesus' genealogy to help to prove that Jesus is the Messiah of Israel. Messiah means anointed one, and Christ means anointed one. When you see...
Mr. Halstengar, your time is up, but thank you for sharing with us. Okay, is there anyone else who would like to address the council at this time? All right, seeing none, I will close public comments and we move on to consent calendar. I will first turn it over to our city manager for one.
Thank you, Mayor Mann. There's one clerical error that I need to correct, so I'm going to pull item E, the landscape and lighting district resolution, and for the record.
Okay, so with
Motion to approve consent calendar other than item E.
Second.
okay, we have a motion and a second. If there are no objections, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Thank you. Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Councilmember Sternquist?
Yes.
Councilmember Yu?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Chen?
Yes.
Mayor Mann?
Yes. Okay, so that will be brought back to us at a later.
No,
date.
I'll actually, I can correct it now.
You'll correct
sir.
it now? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So if I could take item E.
Yes, please.
On attachment B, which is the resolution declaring the intention of the levy in the public notice section, notice of public hearing, it notes June 3rd, 2026 as the hearing date. Because there is a statewide election, we always move our council meeting to the 3rd. So that will actually be June 3rd. So for the record, I'll need to change that, make that correction from June 2nd to June 3rd instead.
Okay, thank you. And just verifying with our city attorney that that's sufficient for us to make a motion to pass this at this time?
That is correct. Because it hasn't been published yet, you're fixing it on the record, and when it's published, the public will be aware of it there, and will also be aware of it because it was pulled and discussed. So yes, that is sufficient.
Okay. Are there any other corrections?
That's it, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Apologize for that.
Okay. May we have a motion with the corrections as indicated by our city manager?
Mr. Mayor, I move that with the date correction, that we accept the engineer's report and adopt resolution number 265871.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Councilmember Sternquist?
Yes.
Councilmember Yu?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Chen?
Yes.
Mayor Mann?
Yes. Next, we move to public hearing, which we have none. Next, unfinished business, we also have none. We move to agenda item 10A, new business, Sereno Park Project Design Review. And we will start with our city manager, Brian Cook.
Thank you, Mayor Mann and members of the council. We come to you today with some exciting opportunities again. The council made a commitment to meeting the open space, not requirements, but what the prior, what the prior county needs assessment had shown, where more parks were needed, especially in certain parts of town where they are absent. And we had the opportunity to purchase this site at 5003 Sereno, almost about 2 years ago now. This process has come to a place where we were able to get a grant from the county open space district to start the planning. And that planning you've seen, some of you have been a part of. Thank you to the ad hoc of Mayor Mann and Councilmember Sternquist. You'll see some familiar faces here today from SWA as well, who've been an integral part of some of the amazing work that we've been doing here in our park system. So with that, Mayor Mann, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Matsumoto and the great team at SWA.
Thank you, City Manager Cook. We do have our Associate Principal from SWA, Ryan McKay, present. We have our presentation set up for the City Council meeting and the audience, and I'll turn it over to Mr. McKay.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Good to see you again. Excited to present the concept plan for the Sereno Drive project. We'll in advance. Just going to go through the project understanding, the timeline of what we've completed to date, the input that we received from the community, as well as the presentation of the concept plan. So we can move forward. So I think you're familiar with the project site. As Brian mentioned, it's located at 5003 Sereno Drive, currently a vacated lot at the corner of Picasso Drive and Sereno Drive. Some existing site photos. Currently the property is fenced for when it was cleared and grubbed, ready for a park. The project goals from the outset was to develop a new public open space that was focused to be multi-generational, prioritize green open space, incorporate safety, lighting, and security fencing, opportunities for stormwater capture, and make sure the design has minimal impacts to the neighbors. So over the last several months, we've conducted a site survey and analysis of the property, defined the site's program and community priorities, checking in with the subcommittee, as well as having a community brainstorming workshop on the site. We developed concept alternatives based on that program and the priorities, again vetting it with the subcommittee and hosting a community open house, and have generated a preferred concept plan, which was again vetted with the subcommittee and presented to Parks and Rec Commission. And all those comments have been incorporated into the plan that you'll see at the end of the presentation. So from the community standpoint, we hosted in July a community brainstorming workshop. We opened up the gates of the property, set out benches and tables and booths, presented ideas for the community to respond to. In total, we had 60 plus community members participate and identified their priorities for the park site. They identified 5 needs. First was a place for nature play, priority of fencing for security, a shade, opportunities for a nature walk. This site is seen as an opportunity for people on their many evening or morning strolls with their dogs as a place to come into the park and kind of experience nature, a little slice of it, and then opportunities for outdoor fitness equipment. The community also did a kind of board of their concerns with the future park space, and the primary concern was actually the street traffic, that the site, and if it's to be developed into open space, we should consider calming down traffic. There's a lot of fast cars that rip through Sereno Drive, and the opportunities of people accessing the site should be taken into account with adding a stop sign or crosswalks so that it would be safer access to the site, as well as just privacy and noise from the neighbors and the adjacency to the railroad tracks and the security that it might pose as a potential for people that are wanted in the neighborhood to claim this space.
Can I ask a quick question? Can you go back to the last slide? So when you itemize these concerns, so I'm taking it, how do we interpret these? You have, for example, you have speed bumps. So is that they want speed bumps or they don't want speed bumps?
So the activity that we ran at the open house, the workshop, was we just open-endedly asked, what are your concerns with the site, and how might you address those? The word cloud that you're seeing on the left, the bigger the word, the more that came across on the board,
okay.
the smaller, the less. What you'll see as the presentation moves forward is that TransTech Engineering actually did a study of this area to provide a solution to address these needs, one of which was not a speed bump, but you'll see that a crosswalk, stop sign, and a traffic study was conducted that was incorporated.
So how would we interpret privacy? What does that mean?
The concern was just looking into the neighbors' yards from the public park. So that is something that we addressed in the plan with the fencing.
So that would only affect a few,
Yes.
obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So then several months later, during October, we hosted a community open house. Again, we ran a very similar event. We opened up the gates, set up booths and boards, and we presented concept ideas to the community. About 40+ members of the community participated. Many familiar faces that actually joined our workshop came as well to this event.
Just a quick question, the community members, were they from the neighborhood? Did they say?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, primarily, and it was advertised through the city social media, but the efforts for this were primarily localized right to the neighborhood with individual mailers that actually went out to each of the neighbors.
That's great.
So at this meeting, we presented two concepts. There was a first option, which was an open space park that was celebrating the kind of landscape of Southern California that is a boulderscape, often found in like the low mesas of the San Gabriel Mountains. And then the other was focusing on, kind of the oak woodlands, these big oak trees, kind of fallen logs, if you were to move up to in the mountains. Overwhelmingly, the community preferred option one, the mesa play, and so we've continued to develop that plan. At that meeting, we also asked what was the preferred nature play equipment and what was the preferred outdoor fitness equipment. Overwhelmingly, the community preferred the timber post climb and then pull-up bars and multifunction bars, which are represented in the plan. And then to
Quick question.
address.
Would you prefer questions after or as we go? Yeah, so if you could go back to the previous slide. So timber post climb looks pretty high, at least on the photo. What safety precautions, if any, are on this? I guess that's always my legal nature to be concerned about liability issues. And I see in this photo, a couple of relatively young kids just hopping around on some logs that are probably, looks like to me, about 10 feet tall. And is this a common feature in parks, or?
So the one that was selected is actually a product from a reputable manufacturer that installs play equipment across the United States. The safety measure in place here per the safety code is safety surfacing.
Okay.
So in
That's
the
the next
proposed
question, is there
plan,
something at the, underneath?
there
that
is a cushion surface
soften the
that
blow,
we've,
I
yeah.
guess?
The material you'll see later is not the rubberized surfacing that you see at the other parks. It acts almost essentially the same, but it's a natural material made of cork that's more resilient and more sustainable. So one of the goals that's kind of developed with the subcommittee is trying to look at the carbon footprint of the site and the sustainability of this nature open space. So we looked at proposing this cork alternative for safety services.
And I don't know, Greg or maybe Adam, do we have just an, I guess, assumption of risk on these areas like that? I mean, how does that work? And somebody comes to one of our parks and gets injured while playing on this, is that, what's the coverage issues, if any, on that?
So under our MOC with JPI, as you know, there is an assumption of risk that the city takes on, but also too, what buffers that assumption of risk and what subrogates most of those claims when and if there are injuries is the fact that this has been done by an architectural firm. The equipment meets all standards. There's fall testing and other safety measures that are taken, as we did in the other parks as well. So there's documented evidence, not only of what we're purchasing, but what we're testing when it's installed as well. Doesn't prevent a claim.
I'm not so much concerned with our assumption of risk. I'm talking about the assumption of risk by those who use these apparatus. Do we have any protection there, or?
I think in any park and any playground situation, there is that assumption of risk of any individual who takes to.
So I guess what you're saying is this is not, I guess in the law we call, what's the word I'm trying to find, Greg, where somebody is.
It's not like it's an attractive nuisance,
Yeah,
which
something
might
like
be
that,
where you're
yeah.
going. An attractive nuisance is essentially something that's not maintained properly and therefore invites people in. In this circumstance, you have something that is designed, manufactured, and installed with safety standards in mind.
But is it rated, would this be rated for a certain age? Because I don't know that I'd want my 2-year-old to be climbing on this. I don't think that would be naturally a safe situation, even if you had, 10 inches of foam underneath of it. I mean, is that going to be a necessary thing that we'll need to have? Is you have to be a certain age to do this timber post climb, or that doesn't even come into the play?
So in all of our playground areas, there is disclaimers and posted descriptions of the age range for each of the pieces of equipment.
Okay.
Yeah, so that you'll see that at the park right outside, and the equipment that's right outside. You see that in the areas of the zones of Live Oak Park as well.
And so I'm assuming then that this, if we were to go with this concept, that something of that nature would be.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Mayor, may I just ask another question? So this is an example that you've shown the residents, but, and you're still designing the project, so perhaps, based on Councilmember Chaffet's questions and also looking at what we've installed in the great park, that playground that we've done at Live Oak Park were very, very successful. We actually don't have this kind of, people, if they fall, they have something to grab onto, but this, when I read this, I thought this was just an example. I didn't think that, I wasn't in my mind that this was what's actually will be going in. So perhaps during the design, would there be other options that will be considered that may be less risky?
Sure. To answer the question and provide some context, so typically playground manufacturers classify equipment under 2 separate age brackets. Right. One would be a 5 to 12-year-old range, and the other is 2 to 5. So this would be more of a 5 to 12 age range piece of equipment. There is some challenge to it. That's part of the design process to create something that's, that has some, built-in challenges. So it's not like an easy or straightforward use of the equipment. We haven't shown it yet, but there is also a play equipment that's geared for the 2 to 5-year-old age range. So you can break up into different sections. Now, there'll be posted signage, but as a young child, right, it's probably more up to the parents to determine and guide them towards different play elements. Right. But because it's a small location, it made it difficult to actually physically separate them out, but they are on different portions of the layout to create some distinction between those 2 play areas. But this would be, I guess, if you want to call it more advanced, the 5 to 12 age range play equipment.
What's the difference between a playground and a play area? Is there? Or is that just semantics?
Probably just some semantics, yeah.
Okay, so
this would be
this could
an
be
equipment
termed
or
either way.
playground, correct.
Okay. And does the manufacturer, is there some kind of indemnification from the manufacturer of an item like this that's placed in our parks? And let's say somebody is injured, are we totally on the hook, Greg, or how is that going to work?
Again, generally, their warranty or their indemnity would be for failure to construct it properly. So as long as they deliver us a well-constructed product, it then transfers to us. We would install it properly with proper safety surface underneath, and at that point, again, well-engineered, well-designed, well-constructed, well-installed product, that's where your risk mitigation comes in.
And it looks like you have two, was the public just given these two options, and 85% of these two options were selected the top one, or were there other options besides these two as far as a natural climbing structure? Do you know?
These were the only two that were presented to the public.
Okay.
There
And
were
so those who
other-
responded, 85% like the top one rather than the bottom one?
Correct, yeah. There is, to Adam's point, more rigor in just the amount of play value with this structure. I will say it is a natural material, so it is, something that feels more earthen versus if you were to go to structures that are metal. Think of the arch structures at Live Oak Park, or even the metal structure that's right out here. All of the safety requirements are actually for kids that are climbing to the very tops of those structures and the potential to fall off. So all of those safety, surfacing is made for those requirements. That's obviously improper use of those structures, but the guidelines are structured in a way that even if you're climbing to the top of one of those metal arches in your fall, that's what the safety standards are there for, and that's what was tested when those were installed. So not dissimilar to if someone were to jump off at the top of this 10 to 12 foot structure, the safety surfacing would be there to protect them.
Be interesting for me to know when whoever was making these selections of the two, if their child was next to them and telling them, this is the one I like, Dad.
There was definitely kids there.
Because I think if there was a kid, I think I would prefer the top one too, rather than the small one below, which is not much to it, so, yeah, okay. All right, thank you.
So moving along, this was a rendering looking at the corner here, and just tries to show the added crosswalk, stop sign, security fencing and gate that would be installed around the park. And then to address additional safety concerns, the idea of using the public right-of-way, that parkway, in front of the gate, and installing significant landscape boulders to provide as a physical barrier versus something that would do the same as a structured concrete bollard, but again, just with the natural materials of larger stones, to provide that extra layer of safety for pedestrians as they access the park.
And Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, but right now, currently, there are no stop signs there, or are there? Is there a stop sign?
There's one stop sign at Acaso.
But let's look at the photo. Is there a stop sign in the, right
that
there
would be
now?
the
Not currently.
There's no stop sign right there.
No, this
So
would be.
a new stop sign.
Correct.
People
As
would
a,
get used to. And
correct.
but remember, that's a curved area right there too, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Yeah, so what would be have we taken into account or looked at the people who are coming around that turn or driving on that street, how soon they will be able to see this?
Yeah,
And
so-
are we gonna take any further precautions, like maybe some flashing lights or something, or whatever JPI maybe suggests to make people aware that there is a stop sign here that wasn't there before?
Yes, and TransTech has done the traffic engineering review of it as well. That will include that and any other type of warnings and mitigation measures that we can take there. So they've done a full analysis of that area.
Well, if I may just add to that, just to clear my mind. So it meets the warrant to put a crosswalk
Yeah,
there? Because
they-
that was also when I read this, I
Sorry.
was so concerned about the corner, they may not actually see it and to stop in time.
Thank you for that question, Councilmember. Yes, correct. That meets, it meets the warrants and traffic engineering judgment as well.
And what's the other side of the street gonna look like? Is there gonna be a stop sign coming from the east
Yes.
as well? So, because this is just showing us the one corner. If we were to go to the left, that's where some of the traffic
Right.
starts coming around. Is there going to be I
There's
don't know
a-
if there's a
there's a-
stop sign there now, and if not, are we going to put one there so that we can, because it sounds to me like what the goal is to lower the speed of the traffic in that area by putting in a stop sign and crosswalks. So we don't have before us, we just have before us this one crosswalk. I'm interested to know what's going to go on the other corners, or
I think
it looks
the-
like we got another
The
street.
previous slide has a layout. Could you
Yes.
go back to the
Yeah,
previous slide?
maybe I missed that then. Is there-
I think it's further.
It's further in.
Further
Oh, further
in.
in.
It'll be
Okay,
a-
wait.
In the staff
three-way
report, it
stop.
was the previous slide.
Okay,
Okay.
no problem.
It is a all-way stop intersection right here at Acasa and Sereno Drive. So there is only one crosswalk based on the layout of that intersection. That's all that's feasible. And we are doing sidewalk extension. So right now, there's not sidewalks on the adjacent properties. There are sidewalks a few properties to the north of the playground, of the park, Sereno Park, and we'll be looking at doing sidewalk extensions to those existing sidewalks to at least create a area where you can walk to the park and be off the street.
Other than relying on our engineers and our Trans-Tech and the designers of the park, do we run these things by JPIA as far as safety concerns? Is that something we would normally do or not do just because we've already gotten the okay from the so-called experts?
Well, our presumption in terms of doing this is as we're required to have a traffic engineer, certified traffic engineer, do that. If we see something I would say unusual, and we talk with our risk manager at JPA, Maria Galvin, quite frequently, and at this point it doesn't seem to particularly merit right now anything that's unusual that we saw in the study, but we can always give Maria a heads up.
Well, the only reason I bring it up, and I always look at when I see these things, I remember going to a JPI conference a number of years ago, and one of the topics was, you want to put a stop sign where?
Right.
And you know very well that the reason for that is because they want to make sure that we're doing those things properly.
Yeah.
So I don't know when would be a good time to run this by them, or if we do, but
We can consult with them.
I mean, that's what we have them for.
Yep.
We might as well take advantage of it.
Yeah,
Because
and I
they-
think too, because it's both a combination of what council member you brought up. It meets the warrants, but also it's an engineering judgment. There's engineering judgment that's allowed under state law as well to make some of those decisions in terms of you're activating this corner a little bit more. Having that type of traffic mitigation measure is not only warranted strictly under the qualitative criteria of the warrants, but also to some of the judgment, knowing that this is going to become a park and you're going to assume some people crossing the street doing some other stuff as well. But yeah, we have a great relationship with JPIA staff and Maria, and we'll give her a heads up and see if I don't think they would red flag anything. I honestly don't, but it does not hurt to double check.
Yeah, I don't think we should just think they won't. We should actually
Yeah.
confirm that they don't. And Councilmember Sternquist and I both, as you know, sit on the executive committee and hear claims all the time. And unfortunately, juries are a little bit out of control. And you can throw all the warrants and all the numbers at them all you want, and they're still going to hit you with a large jury verdict simply because it just wasn't a good idea.
For sure.
And so
Yeah,
I'd
we'll
rather be
consult with
safe
her.
than sure, that's all.
Yeah, no problem.
May I also add a question? I mean, it was great that you brought up the comment of the extension of the sidewalk on our property, but, and I actually just look at a Google map street view here. Looks like there are quite a few properties actually already have sidewalk put in, so perhaps as part of the project, we can investigate adding those few pieces to make that sidewalk a longer and meaningful sidewalk.
That is the plan going forward,
Okay.
to extend out to those existing sidewalks. So that would be to the north of the property.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Moving along, the final concept plan. So this is the mood board of just looking at the Mesa Play concept. An update from what was presented to the community, but incorporating the comments along the way. Essential, just a nature, open space built around this California boulder landscape. You can see those play elements. We'll get into where these are located on the site, but to the earlier comments, the top left is that younger 2 to 5 play equipment.
I thought I remember when we first started talking about this park or open, we didn't really call it a park, we called it an open space. It seems like that has now evolved into more of a park playground for children. I don't see any areas where an adult could maybe go and sit and read a book.
So
Is that not, I guess the public did not want that? Is that what I'm seeing and hearing?
Some of the more prominent feedback from the community was we did initially call this space an open space project because we really wanted the community to drive the design and the amenities for that open space, right? So, there were options of it being a passive open space location with not activated play. But the community really, I think, reiterated their desire for more active elements as opposed to passive elements. But when we go over to the overview of the concept design, in addition to these play elements, there are also seating areas. There's a circular bench which can be used for reading or watching children play if you're bringing young ones to the space, to the park. So those are incorporated. This more so slide particularly highlights the active play elements, but there are some seating elements as part of the project.
Did you get the feel that the neighborhood was a relatively young neighborhood with kids, or was it an older neighborhood with no kids? Where were these people who were putting in their 2 cents coming from? The neighborhood itself or across town somewhere? So
part of the outreach is we really bracketed our targeted marketing for the community workshop. So we have Rosemead to the west of this community. There's the Wash to the north, Ensenada to the east, and then the railroad tracks to the south. That community, which is most directly impacted by this project, received direct mailers, and that's where we noticed most of the community responses came from, was the hyper-local community. And I would say there was a mixture of participants. We did have, I would say it was probably less young families. We had a few that stopped by, but I would say we had a lot more middle-aged and our older adult population stop by as well. So I would say, we didn't have one more prominent than the other in terms of our generational representation at the workshops.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'll just add to that. I think in being at those workshops, there were a lot of people that walked to the event. And I know I spoke directly to one of the members that was representing the property right to the north. But for the most part, people had walked versus parked, which is just telling that they were close.
Yeah, and I'll also add, at least for the one I was at, there were families with young kids and strollers that walked to the event. So I think that's where maybe those ideas in terms of what types of play structures and play equipments they would like to engage in, the kids did have a chance to provide that input. I do recall there was definitely a prominent group of residents that mentioned that they tend to walk around that area of the neighborhood very frequently. So they saw this as kind of an inviting space for them to take a break during their evening strolls or whatnot. And I think what I recall was that they were just grateful that this was even being considered. that
Well,
the
yeah,
city
'cause
was
there's
actually
nothing
doing.
in that area right now. That's
Yeah,
primarily the reason.
Yeah, and the other thing I appreciated from our work with SWA on a lot of the concepts was a lot of the elements surrounding sort of this nature-based theme kind of puts in unconventional seating areas where they're not as overt as like park benches. But one example, like for example, the slide area, there are some boulders that are kind of adjacent to that, and those actually can serve as seating areas for adults or anyone as well. So what I appreciate was there was an intention to try to integrate some of these elements in a more subtle manner and maybe not as overt as we're used to for some of our parks.
That area that you're showing in the one photo with the boulders and it looks like a river rock, is that intended to be a water feature, or depends on the rains, I guess? It's not gonna be water in there.
No
all the time.
standing water,
Yeah.
no. It's just representative of a dry stream bed.
Okay.
So there is some grading that's required, as we'll get into the concept plan, to make some of these features work. And the way that we've graded is to have a low point where the existing low point is, and the idea of kind of, showing how a water system works within this space is a nice nod and can be featured. So it would look like this for primarily all of the year, except on our rainy events.
Yeah, right.
But it's not a very big property, so we wouldn't get a lot of intake of water.
Yeah, a lot of the designs around stormwater capture features tries to kind of hide these elements so they're not as obvious. And in this case, I think conceptually the design does kind of integrate that, but we knowing the design know that there's something underneath that captures it.
It's also a nice just aesthetic feature, but also, again, kind of adds another element of exploration for family or different generations. I mean, there's a lot of parks that we see that these features, kids will climb through, or you could do a little workout just jumping from boulder to boulder. But Adam, do you want to move to the plan? So walking you through the site plan from the entry point on the corner, we have the protection boulders at the corner of Sereno and Caso. Through the gate, we're creating this kind of bridge or portal into the open space to kind of take you off the busy road into the nature space. This is where you see the bioswale. Again, a very low feature, nothing that would be of like fall height into, no standing water. But during inclement weather or rain, water would collect here and percolate naturally into the ground per the geotech report that we have. As you move into the site.
So there's no mechanism for removing the water, it's just gonna just dissipate into the ground?
We have good enough drainage here that, yeah, it would percolate.
When you say drainage, just natural drainage, there's no like drain that it goes out maybe into anywhere else?
Correct.
It's just gonna evaporate into the ground and the air?
A low infrastructure here, so they would just percolate right back to the groundwater table.
Mayor, can I just add a question? Sorry, may I ask a question? Councilman Johnson,
No, I'm
sorry.
done. I'm done, yeah.
So because of the water feature, and you mentioned that the area is good for percolation. So a question for our city manager is that, can we use Measure W funds because of that?
That's what we're targeting, even though we're asking for an allocation today. It won't be the final amount, but we'll look and see once they get the bid documents ready to go and we can parcel out how much of that cost, engineer's estimate of that. Yes, we would come back to you with asking for that Measure W money as part of the final kind of bid package.
Okay. I have more questions, but I'll wait till you're done.
Okay. So entering the park, there will be ample shade trees of native species to the right. There's a circle there. That's what we're calling the conversation tree. In conversations with the community, as many have mentioned already, that the idea that this park could be a space on their walk where they could, take a seat, take a breather, sit with their dog, or see their kids play, or bring a book. That would be an opportunity to sit there. Moving further into the park to the north, that's where the larger kind of climbing structure would be. Again, the trees are positioned on the south side to cast shade onto the structure, leaving it open. In the back corner there, we have built an embankment slide, so balancing cut and fill on the property, building up a berm that provides somewhat of a visual buffer to the neighbors, as well as layers of boulders, plantings, and finally like a screening fence. This would be an opportunity for, as Mayor Mann was saying, kids to climb on the boulders, or people to do, you know, steps up the boulders up to the top of the landing there on the slide. There would be accessible stairs. We aren't required to have like an ADA ramp on this play feature, but handrails and stairs would be required. And then rounding this loop, there's the 2 to 5 kind of squirrel structure that we saw in the image on the previous slide, and then the fitness equipment along Sereno, or along Acaso there. Is also, there's kind of the central planter there, just to provide like a mini walking loop and ample seating opportunities along boulders underneath the trees. And then there's security fencing at 6 feet high around. Other slides will show, but there's other amenities in the park, including a hydration station, drinking fountain with bottle filling station, dog waste bags, and trash cans.
Can you go back? I have a few questions. Yeah. So one of the things I noticed was that there's no walking paths all the way around. So is the intention not to provide a way for, I mean, it's like Councilmember Chavez pointed out, we initially thought this was a passive open space just for people to hang around and provide visual relief, but now it has turned into an active playground. So it's all play. There's no, while there are some boulders and stuff for people to sit, really not that many places to sit. And that's one. The secondly is I noticed there's really no walkway to walk around. I mean, is the light brown area also loose material? Is that services that allow people to actually do walk around if they so choose to?
So the material that's selected for all the light tan is that, what I was mentioning earlier, it's called corkine, but it's very similar to the resilient rubber surfacing that you see on a walking track or in the play areas of all the playgrounds. So that would be a cushioned walking surface. And the reason that this is designed is just to kind of give like a loose circuit. We didn't develop a dedicated
So it's actually
walking path.
good to walk on, because I'm concerned about, you know, walk on unstable surface, being a bad leg myself. Very concerned about that, and working on very soft surface actually is not necessarily good for joints. So I just want to wonder how well a walking surface is that.
So I guess a good precedent is the walking track at Primrose Park. That's a rubber surfacing of a similar like bounce to it. The only deep cushion would be in the adjacent area of
at the
structure.
area, it changes to a different material.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Different depth.
Hold on,
It's
let me-
same material.
I mean, I got a little confused there. So the light area on the photo, that's going to be this soft material similar to what we have at our current parks, correct?
Correct.
But did you say that in certain areas it's going to be firmer than other areas? So that addresses Councilmember Yu's question about a walking area. Did I
It'll all
misunderstand you? Because it's all that area in the brown, it's all going to be the same, isn't it?
all the same squishy surface.
Yeah.
It's
So where's
just
the walking area?
The depth would be different right underneath the big fall height, which would be the larger climber. But if you were to walk like on the fitness zone over at Live Oak Park, that's a relatively thin profile of the resilient surfacing.
How would it compare to the walking path we have at Live Oak, though? Is that the are you familiar with the walking path that we have at Live Oak?
I am, but is that asphalt?
No.
No, it's
a rubberized
it's a
surface.
rubberized surface, and it's different. It is different.
Because I think that is more conducive to walking.
Correct.
Than
Correct.
the padded areas that we're talking about
Yep.
for this.
So for the design for the space, one of the limitations is just the size of the space. Less than a quarter acre, it's about 9,000 square feet. To have which it could be done, a dedicated walking path within this location, it would impact the other design elements where you would have to pick and choose different elements. Now, you can navigate around it, but in terms of like a dedicated walking path where you have the same level of, I guess, like, lack of a better term, squishiness, it wouldn't mimic like the walking path at Live Oak Park. It would be more similar to the playground material where you do have a softer surface to allow for, the safety surfacing. So it is smooth, it's considered ADA accessible, but it wouldn't mirror the Live Oak Park walking path. That type of surface like that.
Which I guess that's a decision that either has already been made or we're going to make, and that is, this is essentially turned from a quiet, passive park to a playground.
I think you're right, Tom. I think what we need to clarify is that that was the initial intent before they did 3 community meetings. The 3 community meetings that took place with the residents in that area pretty much dictated, like, what are we going to start with? Where are we going to go with this direction?
Well, obviously, they've chosen the playground over a passive park.
Yes. So I think, we had the community meetings because we wanted to involve the community. I mean, I thought most people might have liked a passive park, but I think from listening to the comments and seeing the comments from the community, it was pretty evident that people already are walking in that area. It's very clear that people walk and have a certain path that they like to walk in that area. So they preferred to have something where maybe they could take their grandkids. Maybe they could, after a long walk, just sit, enjoy watching the kids play. So I think even though the direction changed, we have to remember that the design was driven by what the community wanted.
How many responses did we get total? Do we have a number? We have a percentage, but.
We had 60
So we got
members
60
attend.
people basically making this decision.
And other options were, community garden, strictly walking paths, seating areas. We had different types of gardens, pollinator gardens, stormwater gardens, more of I think our broad spectrum of options lean more towards passive and less active recreation. But across the board, people just lean towards wanting an area to play.
I wasn't involved in the Primrose planning, but how many people came out to those community meetings?
That
Were there more
was just
than-
prior to my time coming on with the city. I know there was outreach done on the site location as well as at the concerts, the summer concert series. In terms of the amount and number, I couldn't say.
I'm just wondering if it's
playgrounds.
similar. I mean, to Councilmember Chavis's point, 60 people for an area of a park doesn't seem like a lot, but I think when you compare with, what took place at Primrose Park, I mean, maybe that's what the amount of people it takes to dictate in an area, or not dictate, but, to lean towards a certain design or not. I mean, you guys were engaged in that. How many people came out to those community meetings? Do you recall?
I would say we're kind of comparing apples and oranges at this point, because Primrose is not comparable in size, shape, or function. We did a lot of the outreach methods that we did here, we were trying to mimic with Primrose. Primrose got maybe more traction simply because I think we did some of those poster boards out at Live Oak Park during like the Easter egg hunt and other events.
Plus, it's more centrally located. It affected more of an area than, let's say, this.
Correct. Yeah, and recall when we first looked at considering this property, there was discussion at the council level that this could be a park kind of exclusive to this area of the neighborhood because they were further away from Primrose, Temple City Park, and Live Oak Park. And to me, the number of residents isn't as important as who the residents were. And it was clear to me that all of them who participated, like Adam mentioned, they all walk there. So they all live around that area. And so they expressed a particular interest in how to shape this part of their community that, really wasn't an option before.
Well, they're not looking for this park as a walking area.
Correct.
Whereas people who live by Live Oak, they like to walk around the walking path and things like that, so.
Yeah.
And Primrose isn't a walking.
I mean, Primrose, we designed it with it, but I'll tell you anecdotally and all the times I've spent there, it's rare to see an adult walking around. Most of them are actually sitting on the stone.
Watching their kids playing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, if I can add one more perspective that just occurred to me. And I remember, I think doing one of the community outreach meeting, Councilmember Chavez and I were there. I think it was during the Dodgers playoff, or I remember I think there was a game that day.
Did they lose or win? I can't remember.
Don't remember.
Okay.
But I'm just trying to picture myself, if I'm a nearby resident in that area, and I'm knowing that also, just across Lower Azusa, the Rosemead Park, the city of Rosemead just received a state grant for $5 million to upgrade that park. And they do have a pretty sizable walking trail. So I think when it comes to recreation and
It's a
taking
much
advantage,
larger area, though.
it's a much larger area. And I think when it comes to seeking out amenities and resources, our residents, as well as Rosemead residents, knows no borders. I think this park would just as be, I think just as many of our neighboring cities come to enjoy our Rocket Playground at Level Park. I think when this goes through, there will be just as many interests.
I'm wondering though, given this neighborhood and the makeup of the neighborhood, and I would probably call it a certain kind of a quiet neighborhood, if they would be prepared for the influx of people like we have at Live Oak Park. I'm not saying it's going to have that, but I'm wondering if that's a catch-22, that we make it so attractive that it's not only going to attract people in the surrounding streets, but all throughout Temple City and Rosemead, which it's very close to, and whether at some point we may get some feedback on the noise, the traffic, the parking, because I'm assuming that this park is going to be used by others that don't live necessarily across the street. So there is no parking that I can see for this park. Has that been taken into account at all, or?
So,
Where are they going to park?
I think maybe we could have led off with the type of park that's being proposed. So this is a classification that we would call a pocket park or a neighborhood park. Typically, those are smaller size footprint, open space or park areas, typically under half acre. This one's under a quarter acre. Typically, these are meant to be more hyper-local use, so there's no dedicated parking lot. There's typically no restroom facilities for extended time of use. Usually with pocket parks, you see most of your activation come from the local community, which is walking to the park. Now, that doesn't preclude anybody from driving to it and being a part of it. Probably, I would imagine, if you have young families and you're looking for a park or playground area, we've done such a great job with enhancing and upgrading our other parks facility locations that I think there's great options throughout the city to recreate. So we wouldn't necessarily, I think, anticipate a heavy use of this one particular area because we have strong amenities at our other park facilities. If this was the only one that was being upgraded and we didn't have upgraded facilities elsewhere, I think that would be absolutely a valid concern with maybe an overuse of that location. But it is something that, we'll only know once the project has been completed and opened up to the public.
Well, and you just brought up another point that I've completely forgotten, which I think all of you remember how I felt about Primrose Park when there was no bathroom. And Kathy Burrows about went crazy on me, adamantly saying we don't need a bathroom there. Well, again, there's no bathroom in this concept either. Yet we have we have things there that are going to be attractive to young families, younger kids, and no facilities anywhere around to use. So that's one of my concerns as well.
Do you think because there's less parking that maybe that would direct people to go to the other ones
Well, I don't know
that
what
have the
people,
parking lots?
I don't know where people are gonna go, but obviously the idea is, I mean, we wouldn't be building this park and putting these things in unless we wanted people to use it. That's a given. And people are gonna use it, we hope they use it, why would we put all this money in if they're not going to? So if we're going to do these things to attract those young families, especially with some of these playground equipment that we have there, I mean, if I was a young parent and I was led to believe that this would be a great place to take my 5 or 6-year-old, at some point they're going to want to go to the bathroom in the next hour while we're there, but there's not going to be a place to do it.
But I think Adam was saying that at
But
this
yeah, he's saying,
type of park.
he's saying they won't go there to go to Live Oak Park. Well, I don't know that. Certainly the people who live across the street would prefer to go here than the Live Oak Park, but then I guess people who live across the street can always just go home and use the bathroom.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't know. I'm of the belief, and again, I'm just one vote, that when you have a park which is going to attract young families, there should be a bathroom there. And I don't even see, and maybe it's too early to, it's not in this concept, but I don't even see a water fountain here anywhere. Is that?
There is,
there?
yes, that's,
Okay, I didn't
again,
see it on
further
the
in the,
thing. Okay, that's further.
in the presentation,
All right, well,
yes.
maybe we better shut up and let you get through the report.
I
You've
do
got it.
have a couple more questions on the site plan.
Okay.
Yeah. One thing that you brought up with the word storm or whatever was the concern of privacy of our neighbors. But you're clearly building a platform right next to a neighbor. Like, I mean, I look at your grading plan here, you're 4 feet higher, you have built a platform so you can create a slide. So just, I mean, I like it, I like the design. Don't get me wrong, I like the design, but I just find that a little contradictory to the desire of creating privacy for a neighbor when you build a platform right next to their houses, the two neighbors' house. So that's one concern that perhaps I don't know if you have looked at. The other one was by nature of having that platform and putting boulders behind it. I mean, hopefully nobody would get in to sleep there, but if somebody does get in at night, I mean, if I were them, I would go back there and create my little shelter. It's because that's not visible from the street. So that's something that have you, perhaps in your, I know this is a concept plan, this is not necessarily the plan, so maybe, would you be looking at other options and maybe resolving some of these things?
So,
Sure, that was a concern brought up by the ad hoc as well.
Right.
So this is actually some modifications to the embankment slide to try to mitigate some of those concerns. So some of the things that were done was that the platform height is at 4 feet above ground level, but it goes into an area that's sunken down. So the actual height of that platform was decreased from the original design. On the back end of it, there is some slight sloping downward towards the north and west properties, but it doesn't slope all the way down to grade level. So it's a little bit elevated with a retaining wall there. So we're able to extend that fencing to the full height that's allowable per the municipal code. So with the use of landscaping as well, we anticipate those trees and to continue to grow and provide additional privacy for those neighboring residents. It is closer in proximity to those properties. We have elevated playground equipment in other locations, but there is more of a distance buffer between those homes that are near those.
Like I said, that could be a
Yeah.
hideout for homeless.
Sure, and that's why that elevation to the north and the west doesn't go down to grade, it's still, the difference between the top of the platform and to the north and west is only 2 feet.
No, 4 feet.
Or 3 feet.
4 feet, I actually look at your grading plan here. So. And then
Ryan,
plus you have boulders on top in front, so I'm not asking you to resolve it this minute, but I'm just asking.
Yeah,
that
I
those
believe it's 3
things-
feet, but
Yeah.
we can look at that to confirm. There is a section too later in this presentation just to show what that condition looks
I
like.
saw that, yes. All right.
And also the way that things are orientated here in our conversations, we were, understanding that there would need to be sight lines in. So the fencing design from the street is very porous, very transparent. The way that we also angled some of the structures and things were so that if there's anyone within the structures, similar to the pipe, the climbing pipe at Live Oak Park, that you'd be able to see it from the street, so that there'd be clear sight lines in.
Okay, all right, thank you. I think we could proceed with the,
Okay, I know we've already talked about this, but this is the traffic study that was done by TransTech. So what was modified here was the addition of actual stops along Sereno. Currently, there are no stops. So turning this into an all-way stop, there's one existing stop at Acaso Drive that would remain. There would be stop signs and then the crosswalk. And you can see somewhat ghosted in here is the extension of the sidewalks on both the north and south side of Sereno Drive, and then our sidewalk connecting the perimeter of the park.
So no crosswalk contemplated there at the end of Acacio, I don't know what, on Sereno, where the other stop sign is going north. There's no crosswalk there. It's just the one crosswalk that will be put in.
That is correct, yeah. There's
Is
also
there a
no
reason for that?
existing-
Why there
There's
wouldn't
also
be?
no existing sidewalks on the south side there.
the,
There's no infrastructure to tie into other than.
Well, I think that brings up a point that I wonder if we should look about, putting some sidewalks in there.
When I was looking at the plan, I thought that the dotted line actually meant that we're putting in a sidewalk on the other side of Sereno.
On the other side of Sereno, on both
Because
sides
I
of
saw
Sereno
they
we
were
have,
like,
but
if you
not-
look close at the plan, they're like, something that looked like sidewalk there.
is that the reference to on Acaso, this section right here?
No, it's the
Or
one on
over here.
Sereno, right on top. Exactly what to Councilmember Chavez's point, where the crosswalk ends, I thought there was a ADA ramp, and then there's a sidewalk, looks like. It says proposed PCC sidewalk. Pour concrete sidewalk.
yeah, I think Adam mentioned that was being proposed, right? Along the north side
The
of
previous, it
Sereno.
was talking about on the south side of Sereno.
The sidewalk extensions are just to the north of the park property on
North,
Sereno,
right?
correct?
But I guess the question now is, are we considering also the other side of Sereno as well, at least for this section? Because it's shown on this plan, this traffic study plan.
Yeah, so on this slide, what Councilmember Yu is saying is like, if you look at
There's a note there.
4972 Sereno Drive, there's a gray dotted area that goes horizontally, and it says proposed PCC sidewalk on
Yeah.
there.
Oh, yes. Yes, that's going to be, yes, that's part of that sidewalk extension. So it would include this property here and then continue northbound,
Right.
yes.
So
But
we're
not
doing
to
both.
the
So
south.
we're doing both, we're doing this side and we're doing that side.
Correct, yes,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
So how would the residents that live on Ocasio Drive safely get over to this park? There is no crosswalk that's on the map to cross anywhere.
Correct.
So is that an issue?
I mean, there's no sidewalk for them to, if, let's say you're 4951 Sereno and you're leaving your house, you would most likely walk in the street, as everyone does currently. As there's no sidewalk planned there, I think,
I looked, there's up and down,
Planning-wise.
There no, Drive, there's no sidewalk up and down, unlike Sereno. Sereno, there are like spot sidewalks.
Hey, you wouldn't put a crosswalk where there's no sidewalk.
Yeah. So
That's the simple answer.
Is that not
I think
allowed?
it
Is
would
that,
be-
is that against the law or something, or bad design, or?
That would be the kind of thing that your engineers would say doesn't meet with safety standards. So if we put it in over the engineer's recommendation over a best practice, that's where liability would begin to be problematic.
So I guess, at the end of the day, the only really safe place to get to this park is on that crosswalk at Sereno, correct? I'm looking at the map, and it doesn't, you kind of take your own chances trying to cross Ocasio and further down on Sereno.
Well, I think we're making some assumptions about any part of the city that doesn't have a sidewalk.
Well, I'm not concerned about any
Right.
part of the city. I'm looking at this map, and I just want to know how these people are going to get safely to this park. We're creating a destination, but we really don't have a way for people to get there other than this one crosswalk that's only going to be accessible to the people who live on the north side of Sereno, and not to the people who live on the south side of Sereno, nor the people who live on Ocasio.
I mean, they would just cross the street like they would normally
I
at
guess.
any other non-crosswalk intersection.
But right now, they don't have a park to go to, so they wouldn't
Right.
have a need to do it.
Okay,
Are we-
are there any other questions on that slide?
So we've seen this rendering. This is another rendering inside the parklet. Looking at the play structure beyond is that embankment slide. We made some modifications in reviewing with the Parks and Rec Commission about the configuration of the slide and the safety of it. Their recommendations, kind of increase the buffer along the slide, so it's a concrete structure, incorporated the handrails. These are some sections. So the top section is looking north-south from Ocaso up through the park. You can see the parkway, the sidewalk, the fencing, the kind of bioswale that runs along the south edge, the smaller squirrel play equipment, the height of the structure for the embankment, and then, as Adam was mentioning earlier, kind of that grade differential to the properties to the north. The bottom section is looking across the park from the main entry on the corner through the embankment, and you can kind of see the layers of planting, the low entrance bridge. I say that with air quotes. It's more of a metaphorical bridge. It's not an actual bridge with fall heights. And then the gate. Keep going. The proposed amenities, the hydration station that's located if you're walking through the park across the bridge to the left, the trash receptacles, the embankment side, the structures that we've seen, the pull-up bars, multi-dip benches, the tree conversation bench, everything feeling of the same family of a Robinia wood that's easier to maintain and comes with its own warranty similar to other play structures. and
So
outdoor
what kind of wood is that? Is that-
Robinia?
Is that a manufactured wood or?
Yeah, it's a hardwood that's like a soft white color. It's the wood that they use across all kind of outdoor wood structures that aren't just like pine or cedar structures that last a lot longer. We actually are using, we had this set of equipment installed in Manhattan Beach, our project, where most of it was wood, and it actually was, because it could be completely inundated with water, and is able to last a lot longer
You
than
have
the steel
issue with
structures.
sprinters and stuff? Okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
I don't see dog station.
Dog
I don't see
station.
dog bag. Is that, you
Yeah.
said there was gonna be one there?
It's
I'm
a-
assuming this is a dog-friendly park.
Like all parks, as long as they're leashed, then dogs can be on the park. We just have the regular trash receptacles, and then the hydration station includes like a dog bowl,
What about
water, so that's at the
poop
base.
bags?
We don't have that in the plans right now, but that could always
Well, if
be
you're
added.
gonna
I think we
allow dogs, you
should.
need to have them.
I always get asked by my neighbors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people have complained to me about the poop bag stations at Live Oak Park either being out of bags or just not working.
I hear that every other week.
It's a constant thing,
Yeah.
so. I mean, those are little things, but little things that mean a big deal to people that use the parks.
So these are the hardscape materials proposed. They're reference to the key plan, but we've talked, the safety surfacing would be the unifying material throughout the park. It's cork-based. The wood decking, this is an example of a park that we have built in the city of Linwood over these storm water conveyance areas. So you can see that like edge there. So if anyone's in a wheelchair and here in a trike, wouldn't just roll off the edge there, but isn't needing like a handrail or guardrail. Just cast in place concrete for the perimeter sidewalks, and then the natural locally sourced boulders. For planting and understory, we're looking at a native palette, so trees, species local, Quercus agrifolia, the coast live oak, and the western sycamore for the tree canopy. The bottom would be a mix of grasses, shrubs, and ground cover with seasonal bloom, but all native species or climate adaptive species that are lower to maintain.
I have a question on the trees. I mean, there was several slides ago you were showing the playground that they have a tree that looks like it's 50-year-old. How fast will these will the sycamore and the coastal live oak grow, or what size are you gonna bring so that they look established?
So we had budgeted larger box sizes for the oak trees because those are slower growing species. The sycamores are a relatively fast growing species. They're a riparian tree with a really deep taproot structure. They grow significant feet each year. So I think we had them budgeted at like 48-inch box trees going in. Those will be maybe 15 to 18 feet tall, and they'll grow quite fast.
30, 40.
The oaks, will be about the same height, but they're gonna grow a lot slower.
Nice.
And then for the street trees, we referenced the street tree master plan or the recommendation list and selected the Lagerstromia tree on Acaso Drive for the seasonal bloom, and then the Australian willow along Sereno. Lighting plan, for safety lighting, we're looking at only low lighting bollards. There was concerns from neighbors about high poles and getting into their backyards, so just enough light to provide adequate safety lighting and path of travel. But again, the park would be closed and secure, similar to the other parks, like Primrose. At night it would be locked up, so nighttime use wouldn't be all night.
So that was gonna be one of my questions. What are the anticipated hours of operation in a park like this?
That could always be dictated by the council, but we would most likely mirror what we do at Primrose, which would be 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And if there is a need to make adjustments, then because it is an enclosed facility, or that's what it's being proposed, we have that ability to do that.
So when it gets dark at 5, is Primrose still open till 8?
Mhm.
And is
Yes.
there sufficient lighting for kids to climb on stuff there?
Yes.
But here, there won't be.
It would be different, yes,
We would
for
probably have
different parts of the
different
year.
hours in Primrose.
It could. We could look at more of a sunrise to
Well, I think the
sunset.
last thing we would want to do is have kids playing on some of these structures in the dark. You'd have a hard enough time with them playing in the light, let alone no light. So I think that, of course, that's for another day, but yeah, I think we have to discuss the hours of operation.
And then for the security perimeter fence, we have two systems of security. One is full screen privacy along the neighbors to the west and the north, and then a more decorative panel perimeter fence along the outer edge. Both fences would be a consistent 6 foot high. And then, this is the view of what the concept design would be for the fence and the entry gate. The The fence along both Acosta and Sereno would look like reeds or blades of grass that could kind of just recede into this kind of nature park, but still provide the security barrier. And then the fence and gate system, looking at a laser cut aluminum panel, riffing off of the camellia design for the city logo, and then the consistent brick columns that you see at Primrose Park to provide just some unification across the parks of the city. Also on these columns that would support the gate, there would be signage that says the park's name as well as a dedication plaque.
I do have a question on those. I mean, it's no doubt that the fence is very pleasant. They're very plant like. But do we have any concerns if there are no? Because sometimes I see fences get vandalized because they have pieces that get pulled down easily. Do you have experience with that? With that issue?
This wouldn't be a light gauge metal.
Okay.
It would be, hefty rod. I think a good example of this is there's a park in downtown Highland Park, right in a big public area right next to, all the commercial district there. Very similar fencing system, different design, but you could see how just sturdy that fence is.
Yeah, yeah. Because I just did a park and we use 1/2" by 1/2" pickets. They'll all bend and have to go back to reinforce them. So.
The hollow aluminum.
No, it was metal.
Okay.
The hollow metal.
Hollow, but yeah. These would be full weight steel.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you believe that the fencing, the decorative fencing is not easy to climb over or through or anything? Is it?
No, and actually this is, kind of what you have a lot of security fencing where you have the uneven edge there. We would have to design like a horizontal support that you kind of see on
Yeah, I can see
through
that,
there.
yeah.
That also adds that layer of structure for anyone that's wanting to grab on. Okay, and then the cost. So we've run this with our cost estimator through, added in a healthy design contingency, factored in the escalation for anticipated build out of later this year, and then construction contingency for a grand total of 2.1 and change million.
How much does a bathroom cost
Depends on what size.
for one person to go in and use it?
Would have to confirm, but we're doing a 2-unit bathroom with the city of Belmonte, and it was about $400,000 for all the
one
foundation.
probably like
and
250. It's not like half of his number.
You have to. It's the utilities
Yeah.
and all of the foundation and permits and everything. Fire rating it for a structure. It's a lot.
And then when you have structure, you may have to
Adam?
fire hydrant and all that start coming in.
The
Yeah.
similar size park in South Pasadena, did they put a bathroom?
Typically with pocket parks, it's not an amenity that's included.
However, pocket parks don't have activities. I mean,
I
I
was
would
gonna
have.
say, this is not a
I
pocket
would
park.
have not wanted a bathroom if
pocket
it's
park.
passive, but then again, and now I'm leaning towards Councilmember Chavez. If you invite kids there, I mean, I have a 5-year-old grandson, and how often he goes to, I need to go, so.
Yeah, I think of the big planned communities that you see in Orange County where there's, a big neighborhood, and then there's the larger community parks that are over several acres that would have support facilities. And then you have those, what they call tot lots in developments. Those are often, of a similar size to this. They don't have bathrooms or, those, or dedicated parking. But those would have play equipment and drinking fountains and all the similar amenities here.
So you're saying in your experience, there are parks out there that have these type of amenities and no bathroom?
Correct.
But I'm assuming that there are also these types of parks that do have bathrooms.
Correct, yeah.
So it's a matter of money.
Yes, and what you're willing to maintain and
Well, that's another issue. We got a lot of throwback when one of the biggest arguments of putting a bathroom at Primrose Park was we didn't have staff to go and clean it.
Yeah.
And we have had issues, I understand it, that bathroom as well, caused by outside sources.
Occasionally.
Occasionally.
Yeah.
We have those here at City Hall.
Yeah, if you have bathroom, you do invite certain types of users.
I think if it were to, as the directive of making it a neighborhood park or something where only the local community is wanting to go to, I would just walk home and go to my own bathroom than use a public facility, even no matter how nice we design it. But I think that would just, lessen the draw of outsiders using this, what's dedicated for a neighborhood park.
Well, I can tell you, I'm not comfortable with the fact that we're building a $2 million park for 20 houses that live around it that can use their own bathroom at home. I mean, we're gonna have to attract other people to make it worthwhile. This is not being built, at least in my mind, for the 6 to 10 houses that are adjacent to the park.
All right, are there any council questions before we open the public comment? We haven't gotten to.
If I could go back to the previous slide, Mr. Mayor, with the, I really appreciate and I like how staff really put up line item and this earlier today, Director Matsumoto and I took a tour of the Magic Johnson Park. That was a county park, and something I learned from that was that they're in phase 1A of their development. They have several additional phases so that the idea is the community could enjoy something while it's there, while they, as money become available, they can add to it. So I know Councilmember Sternquist has done a lot of work with outreaching to our state legislators. I think at our last week's strategic plan meeting, we've talked about identifying some funding sources. Just this morning as well, during the presentation, we learned that the state's climate bond that the voters of California voted for is coming up with its heat resiliency aspect, some $20 million that will open up in June this year. So, and that's Proposition 4 that was on a previous ballot that I think voters of California had approved, $200+ million. So I like how this is laid out where we can, I think they're more done by category, but not necessarily chronology, like that we could tackle some of these by piecemeal and that we can lay out a process where we can make certain amenities available as money become available. But I think I echo some similar concerns. I would very hesitant to dip into general fund reserve unless we can really leverage outside dollars to really make these amenities available for the immediate neighbor. And I think if there's not an outcry for like, oh, something must be done right now, I think we've done enough where there's a neighborhood nuisance and we're now looking at improving it. And I think I'd rather have it done right. And this is a beautiful plan, beautiful design. And just, that's why I'm just providing my comments and questions also on this particular graph is, if there's a way to tackle some of these design elements by chronology where we don't have to do it all at once, but do it by piecemeal, because that's something I just picked up this morning.
Okay. All right, thank you. So if there's no other questions at this time, I will open the public comment. Is there anyone who wishes to address council on this item? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public comment, and we will move to final council questions, but really, this is the time for a discussion in terms of what direction do we as a council want to move, knowing the information that we have in front of us. And so, having said that, I will start on the side of the dais. Councilmember Yu, if you have any final
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
comments.
First of all, in spite of, I just want to make it clear, in spite of all the questions and stuff, I think it's a great design. I think I look forward to having this park done. But just a number of things that we need to balance. I brought up walking. I mean, the services, at least in my mind, the outside needs to be able to be quite walkable. The privacy is a concern. I know municipal code says fences to be 6 feet, but perhaps there are ways that, you know, maybe next to our neighbor, that could be go to 7, go to 8, I don't know. If there is variance that we can seek. I like the fact that we're creating a very natural environment in otherwise a poor part of the site of the city. And there were a number of things that was brought up, parking, bathrooms. Yeah, I'm a little concerned having an active park with no bathrooms, but perhaps there are things that we can do right now. Maybe we embed utilities so that in the future, if we have to, we can have a plan to add a bathroom if we do have that need. I'm not concerned about parking, because I do think that this being a neighborhood park or pocket park, that people will walk there. But I will do encourage staff to look at doing the pavements, at least on one side of Sereno, be able to walk all the way through. So that, I mean, that addresses, I think, a number of things. People can go back to their home. They also address people coming to use the park. On the budget side, I would like to move forward with the proposed project so that we're not holding back the team in delivering the project. But while I would respect what Council or Mayor Pro Tem Chen said, we need to seek as much grant and as much money as possible, and if we need to expand the stormwater recharge portion to justify use of Measure W funds, I think we should. So overall, it's a great program, great community outreach. I'm excited to see this move forward.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Chen.
I think I already stated a lot of my comments in the guise of a question, so if there's could be some kind of a way we can have the layered approach to as we wait and see some of these immediate funding availabilities, opportunities that may be available to us, I'd be interested in seeing that, but that's all I have. Thank you.
I guess to elaborate on that point, if the funding were to all come at once, then this layering wouldn't be an issue for you?
Right, since some of the climate, the total amount, I could see that it could come from just one source, but if there are opportunities where we leverage outside dollars, I'd just like to see a more tiered approach where if we can immediately get to work to make the amenities available to the community while waiting on additional funding sources to, like, for example, finalize the playground or the native play equipment and the higher cost or big ticket items. So, and that's kind of what I learned today is that, I mean, I wouldn't have noticed that there's any other additional amenities that was going to be added to that beautiful regional park that the county has spent $70 million on. But we were told that was phase 1A. That is now immediately available to the community, but they're going to have plans to add additional features to it. So that kind of stayed with me, and I felt like to do it right and to do it fiscally responsible, we can budget for some of this and dipping in general fund reserve, but if there's not such a hurry, I think we have some immediate funding opportunities where we could be very successful.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Chavez.
Adam, did we send notice of tonight's meeting to the neighbors in the area?
We did not do specific outreach, no.
It's been nice to hear from some of these people regarding some of these issues that have been brought up tonight, but, okay, nothing further.
In terms of direction,
Are we voting?
no, I guess, did you have anything else to add beyond the comments?
Nothing that I haven't already stated.
Okay.
My concerns, I have concerns regarding the concept
Okay,
that I've already voiced, so.
okay. Councilmember Sturkis?
I understand what Ed is sharing about the layered approach, but I also think it's important to know that a lot of the funding that is available through grants comes from ready-to-go projects, not, we're going to do this now and finish this up later. But also with that county project, it's huge. So there is an availability to keep adding different amenities, but this is a very small park. And I would prefer to try and leverage that this park is ready to go with all the amenities as is versus approaching it through a layered approach. Because I think for something that's this small, it's harder to get funding where the county has already designated, just like when they did, I guess it was a few years back when they did the one in Alhambra that Mr. Cook and I went out to see. It's a small park like this. There's no bathrooms there. It's a similarly shaped, what's the street there, Brian? It's Mission and in Alhambra and.
It's on Mission, I just can't remember the cross
I
street.
think it's on Mission and Fremont there. So I think that, although, it seems like that would be a way to go, I think that having this ready to go, and I asked Brian to call Mike Fong's office today, and we'll be hearing back, when is that, Brian, June, mid-June, or
As they're concluding the budget process, yeah, so the late June.
late June? And through those discussions that we have, one of the things that was continually emphasized was this is a ready-to-go project. So just want to throw that out. I was a little concerned that when Councilmember Chavez brought up, when you see the whole thing about how are the people from Ocasio Street gonna cross over without the crosswalk, but I guess there's unmarked crosswalks basically all throughout the city where people just, that's a designated space for them. That's where they're gonna cross, even though there's not. And I think
my concern, because all you're talking about, is that before we put a park in there, there was really no reason for people to cross in certain areas. But now that there's going to be a park there, there is going to be a reason to cross in certain areas. I just don't think we've provided enough of those safety crossings to get there, because all I see is one way to get across, and that's the marked crosswalk that's on that map. To say we leave it up to their own designs, are we really doing the community a favor by saying that? Yeah, go ahead and cross wherever you want, but be careful of the cars. Well, I don't know that sits well with me.
Yeah.
But that's the reason I brought it up, because you're absolutely correct. Before this park was there was no really pressing need for a crosswalk anywhere. In fact, there were no crosswalks. And we've survived that way for 50 years or more. But now we're putting a point of destination, and isn't it within our duty to provide a safe avenue to get to that destination? I don't think we're doing that with this concept.
But I think to your earlier point about, you asked questions about JPIA and have they reviewed it? And to our city attorney's point is, I think the reason why traffic engineering follows certain standards is to position us to be able to say, we designed it a certain way to meet a certain standards that are applicable specifically to these types of issues. So if we start adding a crosswalk in ourselves and something happens at that intersection, I think the legal pitfall would be they'll start asking questions as to, well, what was the standard that the city used to?
I'm not saying we should do that on our own. Certainly, we need some experts to help us with that. Should there be a crosswalk there? Should there not be one?
I think
those are questions I think
answered.
for experts to answer.
Yeah, and
I don't think they've been answered.
TransTech answers it in the staff report. I mean, it might not be a rigorous one, but essentially they did the, I mean, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, but TransTech did a comprehensive traffic analysis looking at not just pedestrian, but as well as traffic safety, and their conclusions was there can only be one crosswalk because that's the only area that met the warrants.
That's correct.
So from that standpoint, yeah, the expert has opined on that matter.
As our liability coverage people looked at it.
No, when we can go back to them and they can take a look.
So anyway, Councilmember Sternquist.
And then the other comment, Vince, regarding the height of the fencing along where the residents are. We spoke to that fact, and I think one of the things that I looked at, I actually went to that small park that's right around the corner from where my daughter lives. And that area, I mean, the houses abut pretty much on two sides of that park. Doesn't seem to be a problem at all, and they have low lighting to light up the park at night, the way they've done it. It seems really effective, and I know, Adam, you mentioned that area, it has like a little slope, which actually makes the fence look higher.
Yeah, to Councilmember Yu's point about, maybe exploring height variances and those sections, I know in speaking with our community development director, there are ways to increase height within the code if you're using at a base a retaining wall and then building on top of the retaining wall where you could get potentially some extension on height. So those are things that we can further explore to mitigate some of those privacy concerns.
Yeah, sure. But I thought it was measured from the low point.
And that's where we'll verify and double check because, yes, if you're talking about what the ground level height is versus the retainer, we can double check.
But we can also look at it instead of a residential party wall, because this is not really residential. We're building.
We're changing use.
Right. If a neighbor try to put up a fence, they're limited to 6 feet. When we're building it could be higher. I mean, when I work on the park projects, I put an 8-foot high fence.
We can take a look at that, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think that's not a difficult fix for that. But overall, I really like it. I know William and I put a lot of thought into it. I mean, I think there were great questions brought up with things that maybe we didn't think about. So that's why we're here. But overall, I think it's a great
It's a great project.
project.
Great project. Yeah.
Oh, speaking of great questions, what are your thoughts on Councilmember Chavez's idea of a bathroom?
I've been over, my daughter doesn't have a little one, but there's quite a few kids that are there with their parents in that park. And it seems to be, when she's there, everybody knows her dog's name. She knows all the kids' names, all the parents seem to know each other, but they're all within like a 5-block little area there. They seem to be, everybody who's going to this park is from the neighborhood and walking not a long distance. So I believe this park needs a restroom. That's it.
All right, thank you. And I forgot to ask Mayor Pro Tem that same question.
Knowing that what Councilmember Yu said about restroom drawing and making it an attraction for homeless, I assume that I think I would be against having a bathroom there.
Okay, certainly we've been at this for some time. I agree there's been a lot of very good questions asked. And I won't maybe rehash all of those, but certainly all the concerns about lighting, traffic, height, the potential for walking path areas, I think those all deserve to be addressed as expressed by council. On the bathroom issue, I would ask that perhaps we consider Councilmember Yu's suggestion of the utilities. Is there a space for that? If it comes at the cost of an amenity, that's going to have to be something that council has to decide on. Right now, I don't think we have that information to do that. But I do agree that overall the work that SWA and Adam, you and your team have done a lot of iterations of this. And I do want to go back to the original point of where we started with this, which is while we did not intend it for it to turn out in the shape and form that it exists today, I appreciate Councilmember Sternquist's point that this was a community-driven way of coming up with the design. This was not something we kind of preordained from the get-go. And sometimes we come up with things that perhaps we didn't quite expect at the beginning. And maybe perhaps a philosophical difference here. I know, Councilmember Chavez, you mentioned that you feel this park isn't just for the residents in the immediate vicinity. I think in principle, I agree with you that, as a city, we are supposed to build amenities that service and address our entire city. However, given the location, I think the practical outcome of it is that most people aren't probably going to know about this park. And if it's so small, like to Adam's point, there's other areas that they can choose. There's a really big park just less than half a mile south in our neighboring city. So I actually feel comfortable from the standpoint of saying, hey, we're here to invest in an area, as Councilmember you mentioned, that is park poor and very far away, relatively speaking, from many of our other main featured parks in the city. So to us, building this for one particular area, just in the same way that, Primrose is more accessible to people that visit the downtown area. Temple City Park is more accessible for people that go to the library, the farmer's market, or that general area. If you go to Temple City Park on any given weekend, if it's not the farmer's market, it's actually relatively quiet, right? So I think our residents will eventually come up with the uses. If they realize, let's say we end up having no bathroom, people are going to learn pretty quickly. They're like, well, I probably don't want to take my kids there from afar if that's something that is very important to them. So on the issue of funds, I am in concurrence that we allocate it now, but I think our city manager heard loud and clear that the direction of the council is to seek outside money. And I think the presumption is that if there is any kind of threshold or milestone in which we're gonna start spending serious dollars in the construction of it, there's going to be a report back to council on what dollars we are actually going to be spending.
Okay, we'll have to.
Yes, and Mr. Mayor, I was going to say, first of all, would be coming back with final design for approval. And that would include taking into account all of the various direction given tonight. Everything from seek outside funds, tweak the design as necessary to be able to utilize funds, to Councilmember Yu saying, look for a way to, if we don't put in a restroom right now, look for a way to run conduit underground utilities so that one could be added in the future. To Councilmember Chavez saying, check risk issues with CJPA. All of those things before final design, which at that point will have a better construction budget instead of the prelim budget. And then you would also then later approve the construction contract. So multiple steps for you to revisit and for staff to incorporate the direction that was very clear tonight.
And the primary one is when we have construction bid documents going out as well. So, well, that'll be like the the gun goes off and the race starts to spend the funds, to spend money.
Mayor, may I suggest that to address some of the concerns and stuff, and even actually, I even questioned the budget a little bit, but I was, perhaps to address some of these, perhaps we can ask, as part of the motion, to ask the team to bring this back when the design is a little further developed, because you heard a lot of comments tonight, right? And then, like, to the question of and also giving the neighborhood a chance to review the more developed design. Perhaps we can ask the team to bring this back at the conclusion of, say, your schematic design before too heavily into design development. Would
We
that
can,
be
we can
an
do it like
option?
as a percentage, like,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
you know in your profession, sir,
Yeah.
sir, percentage of construction
Because
drawings.
that way you
can-
can refine, because some of the things that we asked you to do tonight, to look at tonight, perhaps will have an impact on the budget.
It
For
absolutely will.
example, like to Councilmember Chapa's point, if we were, as an option, additive alternate, say.
Right.
To add a bathroom, how much would that be?
Right.
I mean, we know it's $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. It's not inexpensive, but at least we'll give you, but that's location specific. You need to find a place for it and what that means to the design if we were gonna do something like that.
Right, and then refine that with the cost estimators as well, and then, but also to have a good idea of that before we go to 90%.
So the question is that, can we approve the items tonight, even approve the budget, but ask the team to bring back and then at the time to do a revise?
I don't see why not.
Right.
All right.
And I have a question on that then. The recommendation is to review and consider approving the Sereno Park project concept design. I'm assuming that's as presented tonight. But what I'm hearing from Vince is, well, wait a minute, this is not the final design. We
That's
need
correct.
other information, even including what the budget may be. So how, I guess it's however the motion is gonna be, because for one, I'm not prepared to approve this concept design. I am agreeable with you to maybe, based on what we heard tonight, to take another look at it. Plus, my other question was, and thanks for bringing this up, Vince, I'm sorry, but this budget, these numbers, were these done before the recent global events? Or were
These-
they done like yesterday?
They
or-
have just been,
They're hot off the press.
they're, for lack of a term, they're hot off the press.
But my concern is that it ain't
From a
going
cost
down.
estimator.
It's not going down, it's gonna probably go up.
That's the other, that's always,
Which
that's
I'd like
always,
to know what some projection on that is.
There's a-
Because if I approve a $2 million project, then when we get started, it's now 3 million, that makes a big difference.
well, we do have an escalation factor in there, but, I mean, it's a modest escalation factor, but yeah, time is money.
Well,
And-
and again, I don't think this is a time to be modest, unfortunately. But anyway, I had my turn, I'm sorry.
So what I'm hearing is, we're, per your suggestion, the motion is really not to approve the concept design as it stands, is actually to bring this back to council after these issues have been addressed.
And the feedback and providing that as, and then for the council to review those, evaluate those, and then give us the final direction.
So would it hold the team back if we, so the second part of the motion about allocating and approving the fund, is that a critical part of allowing the team to be able to move forward with this?
I would not say at this point in time, no, sir.
Okay, so then we will leave that motion to when this comes back to council next.
That would be best.
Okay.
Based on the conversation and the direction I'm hearing.
Okay, well, I mean, we will vote on it unless anyone has objections to that. I do want to ask staff to look at maybe one or two other things. One is, I think Councilmember Chow's question about safety of the crosswalks and pedestrians, perhaps there's another lens in which TransTech and our team can look at it, is we always kind of loosely allude to a sidewalk master plan that exists in the city. But for all practical purposes, it's a wish list, not necessarily a true plan. But perhaps if TransTech could assist us in looking at what are the possibilities, given the physical constraints of this neighborhood, of addressing this sidewalk accessibility issue in the area immediately in the vicinity. Because that's, if council were to pursue any kind of options down there, we know cost of concrete is not cheap. And there's right-of-way issues, there's physical constraints, so, but at least from a feasibility standpoint, if we can at least say, hey, we've looked at it, we've tried to address that.
Sure.
And try to build that into this concept.
And that's a good point, if you don't mind me following up. Does TransTech look at these things, I know actually from a design standpoint, things like that, but do they look at the legalities and the risk factors as well? Or do they rely on JPIA to put that out, or someone else to address those issues? I'm not and to kind of follow up what Mayor Mann is saying is TransTech looking at it from just one lens, so to speak? And should we have someone else look at it in another manner?
So generally speaking, the team at TransTech and the traffic engineers, and to be a traffic engineer, you have to have that, you are not just looking at it from a singular lens of looking, for example, at that one part of that street and defining what the mitigation measures are there. You're looking a little bit more holistically. There is something called engineering judgment in the process of what a traffic engineer can do. So to answer your question, they do look a little bit more broadly. Now, not disparaging any engineers in the room, but it is one where sometimes it depends on the engineer and what they're looking at. We have a longtime traffic engineer who does understand the city, knows the city very well. Any traffic engineer can, I wouldn't say miss something, but maybe not look as holistically as we want to. So the direction I'm hearing is just make sure we're looking broadly. And again, as I said earlier, happy to bring Maria and JPIA along just to give them a look at it too.
I don't mean to be a knock on TransTech, because I think they do a great job and they've done it for the city for a long time. They're a good firm and that's why we use them. But I'm just thinking, and again, you guys always put your engineer hats on and stuff, and so bear with me while I put my legal hat on, okay? I've seen too many cases, not only personally, but also in my work with JPIA, where juries, they don't care about this stuff. They're gonna look and they're gonna say, okay, you decided to put a park there, but did you take into account that it may create a liability in people getting to those parks? And I just want to make sure we've covered all our bases so we don't leave ourselves open for a lawsuit down the road, that's all.
Understand, Councilman Travis.
And the answer to that could very well be, yes, we've done everything within the law and we've got the law behind us. But gosh, I can't tell you how many times our adjusters have come to us and says, we have a good case, but I think we should settle this case for $10 million just to get out of it.
Or more.
Or more. And that's always a concern when you're looking at it from a legal aspect. But that's the one thing that kind of stood out to me very largely when I saw this rendering of this beautiful park in a beautiful area. But then we got like this one mechanism to get to it. And people are going to not just use that, they're going to cross wherever they want to. That's the action that a jury would take into account is, did we cover those bases? Did we create a situation where we made things worse and not better? So I just want to make sure we cover all the bases, that's all. And again, I love it. You guys did a great job and it's a beautiful park, but I just want to make sure that everything that we've talked about tonight is looked at, because I think there were a lot of good points made tonight.
Certainly.
If I may add one more thing too, I think piggyback on, because I know that intersection with Sereno and Acosta was with visibility and how fast vehicles travel. That was always a very dangerous intersection. If TransTech was looking at this purely based on what is then existing, or I think at some point I brought up the idea of a road diet, like where we can take out additional parts of that roadway, where we can then make that safer for vehicular traffic. And I'm thinking, like, outside of the box, like, taking out, like, making Sereno a dead end, at the park. So it gives more, square footage for either parking or for the park to have space. But then also, making Ocaso and Sultana basically the only, outlet to either get to Rosemead or to get to Lower Zusa. Because I think right now, there's just, it's like one big circle where you have, I mean, it's a pretty dense area of the city. But given that, the density and how fast vehicle travels on Sereno, I just wanted to make sure that TransTech had thought of every possibility and not be limited to what is the current road configuration. We want to take a road diet and just close off that part of Sereno, and make that park like bigger, like we take out the entire roadway. I think that could satisfy what Councilmember Chavez said. We keep Ocaso, free flowing to be the, between, Sereno and Sultana, so that there's an outlet at Rosemead, there's an outlet at Lower Zusa, but then Sereno would dead end at the park on both directions. I just wanted to see if TransTech had thought about those things, and maybe, you know, that would give us even more square footage to work with at the park as well.
And that's a good point, and Mayor Mann, I'm sorry, just one last point. In looking at that map that we have in front of us, is there a possibility of putting a crosswalk in on that side of the park? I don't know what's there. It looks like there's a sidewalk there. I don't know what's on the other side, but, you know, that would give, if we had a crosswalk, let's say on that end of the park, that would give the people on that side of the street easy access, and then the people on the north side of the street have the new crosswalk. That's all I'm thinking, you know.
Okay.
But I don't have the bigger map and see what's on that left side of that park area. I don't know what's there. But
So these are all questions that I'm sure staff will ask TransTech.
Yep.
And I would also ask that, considering you know where council's concerns are, that TransTech should be at our
Yes, absolutely. They'll be at the next
to
meeting.
discuss this. So
and
that,
could we send, Mayor, could we have notice sent to the people that live around there to get their
That's a great
input?
idea.
I'll add that to the motion.
Because it's been a while, and they haven't seen, I'm sure they haven't seen this final concept.
Right.
They put in their 2 cents.
Right.
But we've now put that all together for them.
yeah,
I
that's
think
a
it'd
good
be a
idea.
good idea.
That's a good idea. Okay, so with all that, is anyone prepared to?
Well, I'll make
entertain-
an attempt, but
Yeah,
maybe the city attorney would help me on that. So, Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the further development of the concept design to address issues brought up tonight and to bring back in a future date to be determined a refined design with options and budget for the council to consider with notifications to the neighbors adjacent to the park. Would that work?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. If there are no objections, let's have a roll call vote.
Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Councilmember Sternquist?
Yes.
Councilmember Yu?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Chen?
Yes.
Mayor Mann?
Yes. Okay, well, Ryan and team, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
job.
you.
Okay, next we move to item 10B, adoption of the city's emergency operation plan. City Manager Cook.
Thank you, Mayor Mann and members of the council. Proud to present to you today a very extensive document that lays out the city's emergency operations protocols, procedures, and structure. I would be remiss if I did not thank the area emergency operation coordinators who helped with the template for this and bringing that forward. This is a template. This is a living document. One of the things we will be doing, and I think I've noted to you before, is that we are also seeking funding for an update to our hazard mitigation plan as well. That hazard mitigation plan has not been updated in a while. That takes real technical expertise to assist with that. We had our own activation of the EOC more than a year ago now for almost 7 days. Work through that, but this was the opportunity And thank you to Councilmember Sternquist and others to kind of remind us to stay on task with this. With that being said, I'll turn it over to our Public Safety Supervisor, Mr. Amaya.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Members of the council, I'd just like to go over briefly the Emergency Operations Plan update, provide you with some key points in terms of what the plan entails. Just a quick background, again, as City Manager mentioned, the adoption of the original plan was in 2011. And as it's important to continue to review these documents, and it's true that the Emergency Operation Plan is a living document, it's important for us to take note of that and, evaluate some of the changes that have been made during that time. So the City of Temple City is dedicated to the development of their Emergency Operations Program. The Emergency Operations Plan is designed to provide a clear, practical framework for how the city prepares for, responds to, and recovers from emergencies. This plan outlines roles, responsibilities, and decision-making authority to ensure coordinated action, protect public safety, and maintain continuity of government while aligning with state, federal, emergency management requirements. The framework that we're looking at in our EOP is outlining the roles and the duties for the emergency preparation, response, and recovery. The plan incorporates an all-hazard approach in order to address natural human-caused and technological incidents such as earthquakes and public health emergencies to protect the community. The plan aligns with FEMA, Cal OES, and integrates with SAMs and NIMS for coordinated multi-agency response. The plan is designed to provide clear roles and policies to reduce confusion, prioritize public safety, and enhance community resilience. The EOP provides a structured approach for coordinated emergency response to save lives and protect property in major disasters. It applies to all city departments, agencies, private partners, and community organizations involved in emergency management. Effective emergency management relies on government actions and active involvement of residents, businesses, nonprofits, and volunteers. So it takes a whole community approach in evaluating this plan. The coordination that we have in place defines how local resources coordinate with county, state, and federal agencies when overwhelmed by emergencies. With life safety as a top priority, the flexible activation concept allows staff to respond based on incident scope rather than specific hazards. The plan focuses on emergency awareness, response, sustained activities, and recovery phases for effective management. At the EOC level, it works to prioritize response based on activation levels in the Emergency Operations Center in order to scale resources and coordination to match the incident severity. It places a strong emphasis on coordination and communication to ensure situational awareness and informed decision-making during these emergencies. Temple City highlights the operation under SAMS, NIMS, and ICS to ensure alignment with county, state, and federal emergency partners. The city manager or designee serves as the EOC director, providing policy direction, while incident commanders manage tactical control. The city departments support response and recovery through the specialized EOC sections, such as operations, planning, and logistics. Temple City uses this coordination through mutual aid systems at county, regional, state levels whenever as needed.
I'm sorry, can we
Yes,
go
sir.
back one slide, the one before this?
Too far?
One with
Sorry.
Yeah, there.
There we go.
So do we have an individual in each one of these boxes?
No, we
Okay.
don't.
This is
There's some, okay, the EOC director, absolutely.
Yeah.
That would be me.
And does
We're a
Greg
small
know that
organization.
Does Greg know he's a legal officer, or maybe not?
He does now.
No.
Just joking around. He always knew that.
Really informative slide.
Surprise.
Okay, I was just wondering who the heck that was.
No, so as a small contract city, Councilmember Chavez, a lot of people are playing multiple roles
Yeah,
in
and
this situation.
some of these are probably filled by outside agencies.
And outside agencies, and if you remember too, being in the EOC during the wind event, during the the horrific fires in January of 2025. For example, Jose played multiple roles outside of being EOC coordinator. Sometimes he was the logistics coordinator, and sometimes even Mr. Reimers and Mr. Matsumoto, they flip. So we really, yeah, there's not, so to answer your question, Greg, there's not someone who fills all these roles. In most cases, you scale up or you scale according to the event, as we did back in January of 2025, to address the needs that are there. We were, for lack of a better term, county agencies weren't available for some of our lower level activities. That's why we had to activate, and you gave me authority to do some things with our part-timers, for example, and other things that I wouldn't be doing, which I don't have the authority to do on a day-to-day basis, but do now. So, but
So
this,
I'm just saying this chart seems to have grown over the years since the last time we looked at this.
That's a great point, Councilmember Chavez. Yes, so that's why this is updated. So this is an updated EOC chart from what you did back in 2011. So this captures both the being in sync and alignment with NIMS and SIMS and those changes that have been made over the last almost decade.
Wouldn't it behoove us though to at least identify as best we can who is going to take on these roles, even if, let's say, Jose has a number of roles, or is it just going to happen when it happens?
No, so part of our next steps in the process is a couple of things. To do a tabletop with the council, and then also and we continue to make sure that staff is trained in SIMS and NIMS, but also Jose and I have sat down and identified individuals that we know would fill general spots. And for example, logistics coordinator, planning and intelligence, finance, those are pretty clearly defined based on our current organizational structure. So those people fill those spots. Like Mr. Kung fills, and he did during the 2025. You saw how we were kind of organized in the EOC. So to answer your question, yes, I would say some of the top layer things are clearly filled out with specific people and backups. When you get down to the lower end of the organizational chart, that can be a little bit more fluid, for lack of a better term, just because of our size. Hope that answers your question.
No, it does. I had another question, but I forgot it. But go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's all right.
Jose.
So one of the key factors of the EOP is to try to focus on recovery and resilience. Through short-term recovery, we focus on stabilizing conditions, restoring utilities, and supporting displaced residents immediately after emergencies. Long-term recovery involves rebuilding infrastructure, restoring services, and supporting economic stability over months or years. Collaborative efforts, recovery depends on cooperation between governments, nonprofits, businesses, and community groups for effectiveness and equity. Community resilience, preparedness, training, public engagement, strengthen resilience to reduce impacts and speed recovery. All in all, the plan provides the city with the guidelines necessary to respond decisively and work towards effective recovery by clarifying authority and duties during emergencies, strengthening regional coordination and communication, support safe, resilient, and prepared community. Next steps, as Mr. Cook said, stay up to date with local, state, and federal emergency protocols, ensure all new staff are trained with NIMS and SIMS, and coordinate tabletop exercises to support ongoing training and development. And it is recommended for the council to review and adopt resolution 26-5870, and I'm available for any questions.
Okay, all right, thank you. So at this time, we'll take council questions. We'll start on this side. Councilmember Sternquist, any questions?
Thank you, Jose. So what is the timeline for the staying up to date on local, state, and federal emergency protocols? Is there something that the state produces that?
So staying engaged with our, through the area DMAC is a great way for us to kind of get information based on what's happening at the county, state, and federal level. And it's, as I said, this is a living document, so as things continue to come down the pike, we work it into our plan and development. If there requires additional training to go along with those protocols, then, you know, we'll work sure to introduce that to the staff so that we're fully engaged with that process.
Okay, and then the last one, coordinating the tabletop exercises. You know, it goes so much hand in hand with the coordination and communication. And we as a city need to, in my opinion, we need to reach out to the school district. We need to see what their emergency plan looks like, so there is coordination. I mean, I don't know if the business district has ever been involved in an emergency operation, but that's definitely something to get started. If we'd have a major earthquake and we have businesses in the city with business owners, we're going to need to rely on them too. Maybe there's things that they can do, you know, maybe help feed people if we can't get to
Absolutely.
food sources. I mean, just, I think we need to expand that tabletop exercise beyond the council to involve our representatives from the Chamber of Commerce that can reach out to the businesses, you know, the school district, and definitely our sheriff's department. We need to have some coordination
Absolutely.
between all of us.
No, and those are definitely things that we can explore and see how we can really spread that word and gain that feedback from the community and see how we can strengthen this process with everyone.
Is there anyone that can help us coordinate that, or is each city pretty much left on their own to do it?
In terms of the tabletop exercises?
And coordination between all the organizations?
We're gonna, I think one of the things we'll do is one of the things we've talked about is having the area D coordinator kind of be that person who helps facilitate that. She came in and did kind of one generalized training, but not she didn't do a full tabletop exercise with us. It was just more of a kind of more presentation oriented. But the coordinators do those types of tabletop exercises. That's the resource that we have and that we can tap into, that we pay into.
Does the JPIA have any training programs in this area?
That's a good question, Councilmember Chavez. I don't know. I'd have to, I don't think so, but
In the back of my mind, I know they have similar type training, whether it's regarding these particular issues. I don't think they get into the weeds with the state and federal emergency protocols, things like that, but from a local level and how to assist. You might want to follow up on that.
Sure, I can follow up on that, but the immediate one I know is the area.
Well, they maybe have a referral for us.
Yeah.
The county fire department would be a good resource,
Oh, yeah.
right?
I have a couple of suggestions for that table. I'm sorry, I don't.
No, go ahead.
Is it okay if I?
Yeah,
go ahead?
please.
I like the idea of these tabletop exercises, but like Councilmember Sternquist mentioned, I think we need to bring more people to the table, so to speak. Okay, no pun intended, but Chamber of Commerce comes to mind. School board representatives come to mind. Those major players in the city, I think, need to be a part of this so that we, as again, with a major, knock on wood, a major problem, we need everybody on the same page. And so it would be helpful to know not only what each party can offer, but also what maybe plans they have too. Because I'll bet you any amount of money that our plan is not exactly the same as the school board's plan, you know, and vice versa. So yeah, I think that's something that we definitely need to look at. I had to chuckle when I saw the words NIMS and SIMS. I can't remember, what was it? The windstorm, I think, is the last time I heard those terms, although we might have brought it up during the fires, but not as much. One last thing. I remember that after the windstorms, because before the windstorms, we weren't really that prepared. But we learned our lesson. And we put together a program. And I remember as a result of that program, all the council members were given a booklet of what the major things to do and protocols. Will we be getting something similar to that? Because I still carry mine around in my car today. Because if something happens, I had something to refer to. Okay, this is where I need to go, or this is where other people need to go. I think that would be helpful, at least for council and maybe whoever else you can think of, to have that sort of thing. And that way we can refer to it if we're
I
out
recall
of
because
town.
it talked about who could who could declare a state of emergency if the mayor wasn't available or the city manager.
Yeah, and some of that, what we can do is kind of an abbreviated portion of this plan, which speaks to some of those, which speaks to some of
which
those.
is just the
Like
main points and how to respond.
Like a Cliff Notes version of it.
Yeah, it was a booklet, not as big as this one, but
Yeah.
it was a
Right.
booklet that we could
Sure.
carry around with us. So
No problem.
I'm just thinking maybe.
Rather than the 300-page document. you
Yeah,
see
we don't want
before you.
that. That's not a, thank you. That's good.
It's when, what is the lady's name that does from JPL or
Maria
JPLA?
Galva?
No, she did the tour, the bus tour where she talked about emergencies. She was one of the speakers at JPIA.
Lucy,
Lucy Jones.
Lucy Jones.
Lucy Jones.
Lucy
The
Jones.
seismologist.
Yeah, it doesn't
Yes, she's actually been kind of pivoting from her talks on, the earthquake seismic activity to really cities being proactive and doing emergency operation plans.
You know who the contact for that is? John Barry,
Oh,
Chamber of Commerce. He works for
oh,
Lucy Jones.
really?
Yeah.
I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
that's his daytime job.
So there, we have a great contact.
Yeah, that's his daytime job.
I'll be darned. Okay. Other than that, thank you, Jose. I mean, we have a start, and that's,
Absolutely.
yeah, we can grow, but at least we're gonna start, so I appreciate it. Thank you, Brian.
All right, we'll move to your Councilmember Yu.
I really don't have much of a question. I'm glad that we're actually doing this. I remember back in the windstorm days, that was many years ago before this group of staff here. And I think at the time, we were asking then city manager how we could help as a city council. And I don't know if then Mayor Chavez at the time. Remember the answer from the city managers, no, there's no role for city council.
Well,
So I
the
would-
city manager, we couldn't find the city
Right.
manager.
So, I mean, we were all prepared to.
We're local.
Right, we were local, we could help, right? And we could even serve in the EOC and all that, but we were told that as a council member, we have no role. So it was kind of refreshing to hear that there is actually a tabletop exercise that we're involved, so I look forward to finding out what that is.
Well, unfortunately, and maybe fortunately, in the position that we are in,
Right.
who do most people contact first?
Us.
They call us.
Yes.
And if we don't have the information, then obviously we're of no use.
Yeah.
They're not gonna usually even call City Hall, for that matter, so. Good point.
Mayor Pro Tem Chen.
Just have one small quick thing to add. I think in the presentation, we talked about restoring utilities, and I know with Clean Power Alliance pushing for local cities to develop their own solar battery storage. Seems like battery storage is kind of getting some regional attention, not so good way, but I think it definitely serves a very important purpose for resilience, like being able to, in a major earthquake event, not just having fuel or generators, but if there's solar with battery storage on our critical facilities, like the Power Ready program that Clean Power Alliance is actively working with us on, could help with that as well. So just wanted to add that element to it. That's all I have.
If I could just add to that, that's why I've been asking, where are we with the city hall in terms of solar? Because I think the city manager and I have been discussing that when we were actually doing the roof. So it's been a while, so.
We are being considered for Clean Power Alliance round 2, and round 2 can really begin when the last of the round 1 project gets initiated and finished. So I think that's where.
So they're gonna fund it?
They will fund the whole thing, the capital cost of all of it. It will be kind of a power purchase agreement type.
Yeah,
where most
yeah.
people have when they install solar
Yeah.
at home, where the city continues to pay its utility, but it's through Clean Power Alliance that they would fund those panels as well as the battery storage.
Good. Well, hopefully we'll see that sooner than later.
Okay, so I think we kind of blended our questions and comments together, but before I say my piece, I will open the public hearing if there's anyone who would wish to address council. Okay, hearing none, I will close the public comment. Great questions and comments from council. I wholeheartedly concur and agree that having any kind of tabletop exercise does help shed some light on what our role and purpose may look like in a disaster emergency that's greater in scale than the ones we have experienced. At the county side, we do these exercises on an annual basis, but that's within perhaps the analogous to the city team, right? The department head, staff. The thing I remember most about all of this is we prepare now so that when an emergency hits, it's like muscle memory. So there is no question about, oh, where do I go? Where do I need to be? Kind of like to your point. I think for us in our current roles, I don't think we have that great of a clarity, right? And it's funny, you, Councilmember, you brought up the idea of, oh, there's no role for elected officials, but we clearly know that that's not true. And perhaps one thing that can help us better understand what that role looks like is there's going to be a lot of questions about post-disaster communications and decision-making. And maybe, I know this plan is intended to be broad in general, but I think as we work towards a tabletop exercise, you can help kind of shed some light on what that looks like. Because on the county side, there's a lot of questions being asked, hypotheticals, like, well, what if communication breaks down? What if you can't get a hold of the city manager? What if the phone lines don't work? You know, do people know what is considered like their team being activated in their role? Like, what is that threshold, right? So, you know, is it a 4.0 earthquake, 5.0 earthquake? You know, there's so many different metrics that you can kind of look at from a disaster response standpoint. What happens when communication breaks down? So yeah, I'm glad we updated this. So thank you to Jose and the entire team that worked on it. And I'm very much looking forward to what we can bring back and actually wrap our hands around.
Yep.
So, all right, with that, may I have a motion for this item?
Mayor Mann, I would make a motion that we adopt resolution number 26-5870, approving and adopting the city's emergency operations plan.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. There is no objection. Yes.
Just a question, are we really adopting the plan, or, because it's going to be, it's in a development stage?
It's a living document. So in terms of us dealing with Cal OES, it's important for them to have a resolution that says you've adopted the plan, does not preclude you from updating it, coming back, and even during the tabletop exercise, like saying, hey, you know, as we went to tabletop exercise, we discovered this. Let's add that to the plan.
Okay, thank you.
So can we get a roll call vote on that motion, please?
Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Councilmember Sternquist?
Yes.
Councilmember Yu?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Chen?
Yes.
Mayor Mann?
Yes, that's been approved, and we will move on to item 11, update from our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council members. Thank you again for the strategic workshop discussion we had. Staff is working hard and actually working this week as well to take that feedback and present that to you as part of your budget deliberation discussions coming up in the next couple of weeks. With that being said, on the state budget side, as was mentioned earlier, the request is in for Sereno Park for funding, and again, we'll know at the end of June, but all indications are that the state budget actually looks a little bit better than was first thought at the beginning of the year or the end of last year as well. So again, there are constitutional protections against the state taking away any local funds, which is was always a constant threat about 20 years ago, but we do not have to worry about that now. And that's very important as we develop our budget going forward. With that being said, Summer concerts will be starting soon. We'll mention that schedule coming up, and all of our summer activities will be starting very soon. So Rec Connect should be out in a couple weeks for people to be ready for the summer. So that's it, Mayor Mann.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next update from our city attorney.
Thank you. We'll keep this short given the hour. The question was raised a couple meetings ago, maybe the last meeting, about e-bike regulations and the potential for a local helmet requirement. We researched the state e-bike regulations under the vehicle code, and minors are actually required to wear helmets on all 3 levels, so it's much more a question of enforcement rather than adding a new law. Any new law would be preempted by the state law anyway. The other thing that might be helpful for staff or the subcommittee to discuss with the school district, local agencies have the ability to regulate use or operation kind of in areas. So there are some cities that have, for example, said that in certain commercial areas, e-bikes must be walked, that they move too quickly. Unlike regular bikes, they pose too great a danger. That might be something worth talking about with the school districts. Do you want to put an area, some perimeter around the schools where they have to be walked?
So it doesn't have to be a commercial area, it can be around schools.
It could be an area as long as.
Just an area we've identified.
That you have to identify, there has to be a rationale for it, it has to be justifiable. But those are things worth talking about. I'm not saying you should do it, I'm just saying there are things worth talking about if e-bike safety is a concern. That's it for tonight. Just a reminder, I won't be at the next meeting. I'll be watching my son graduate college, so Ms. Gutierrez will be here in my place.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I don't know.
And just to follow up real briefly, Mayor Mann, if I might, you know, that e-bike, I don't know, I mean, I'm sure all of you see the news, but it's getting worse.
And
There are people dying now.
I don't know if you know, in Orange County, the Orange County District Attorney has filed a case against a parent
Yeah, I
who
saw
gave a level 3 to a child who was not of age to ride a level 3 bike and who did ride it.
Is that the one that hit the 81-year-old man?
Yes.
And then he died, and now she's been charged with manslaughter.
Yes, she has.
But that wasn't an e-bike, technically, that's an e-motorcycle.
It was an e-motorcycle, yeah.
I
At class
looked
3,
it up
it's-
because
yeah.
it can go up to 56 miles per hour.
Right.
So.
Which is
But
why
they're
the
out there.
child never should have been on.
Yeah, she
Right.
never been-
Child endangerment.
That's why she's in charge, yeah, terrible.
So thank you for that update. And on that note, I would ask that perhaps, Brian, you can take up Greg's recommendation on looking at, kind of broadly speaking, what that might look like for the purposes of the next standing committee
Yeah, let's put
meeting.
that on the agenda.
Yeah. So if there's anything, I mean, first, of course, from a city perspective, we have to be able to have an understanding of what that will look like
Right.
before we even talk to the
Propose.
school board
Yeah.
Sure.
about it. So-
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, next, item 13, are there any council reports on ad hoc or standing committee meetings? All right, seeing none, we move to 14, starting with Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you. Just real briefly, Councilmember Sternquist and I had the pleasure of attending last week the Elected Officials Summit sponsored by the California JPIA, 2-day summit down in Chula Vista of all places. Some of the topics that were covered, actually it was intended specifically for elected officials who have been on the job for a while. As you know, and I think Mayor Pro Tem attended the New Council Members Academy, I believe. Well, that's obviously for new council members. This one is for those elected officials who have been on the job for a while, but maybe need a refresher course or further information. So a lot of information. There were 4 main topics that were discussed. One is how the JPIA partners with our members in managing risk. So Alex Smith gave a good summary of what the JPIA does for its members and how they deal with managing risk issues that occur in all the member cities. So that was a good summary, because a lot of people don't know that. We do, primarily because Councilmember Sternquist and I are on the executive committee, and we like to share that with you, but there's a lot of communities that really have no idea of what JPIA does. So anyway, it was a good refresher course. Other topic, working effectively with your elected officials, colleagues, city manager and staff. So we got some good information about what to do and maybe what not to do, which is always good to know. And it was more or less a shared kind of conversation where others from other cities shared with them their experiences and what we could do about that. There was also some media training, which I brought to mind in dealing with these emergency responses. That's probably in one of our roles, is to respond to the media, because we actually are the voice of the city, especially the mayor. And I can remember with the windstorms, when I was the mayor, I got a lot of press time. Unfortunately, nobody in the city saw it because nobody had electricity. So, but I would get calls from other people I know in other cities. Hey, we saw you on TV. Okay, so we talked about that and had some training there. And then lastly, working with our community and how to work with them effectively, basically entitled Successfully Navigating Turbulent Times. Of course, we all have been part of that recently, in dealing with issues, especially regarding public safety, things like that. And so there was some good information. I do have a booklet that was provided to all of us. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this in our office in City Hall. So if any of you want to just take a look at it, there's some good information in here. You can glance through it, take it home and read it, but just bring it back. But there's some good, and there's also good references and sources on here of further information if you want to know more about those types of things.
Do you think JPI may have that in PDF? that they
I can
share?
check. They probably do, but let me check on it.
That
And if
would be
they
pretty
do,
interesting.
I can have them send it. That's a
That would
good,
be easiest.
a good way.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sharing.
I'll check on that, no problem at all. So let me check, and I'm sure they have it. I know they have, they had some of the presentations and slides that they sent to us, so they probably have the whole thing. Okay, so, okay, no problem. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no
That's really
problem.
great. All right, next, Councilmember Sternquist.
Yes, the media training was really interesting because they had you, did you have to do that also? You actually sat in front of someone who was interviewing you, and you had 3 scenarios to choose from. And your colleagues were watching you and they critiqued you. But one of the biggest takeaways from that was that if you are on TV representing your city as a council member or as the mayor or city manager, that you don't promise anything and you only give the facts. You don't even make an assumption like, well, I think he's going to take care of this. You just say what you know and just the facts. And it was interesting because you want to go up and the questions sometimes were leading questions, which gave you an opportunity to sort of put you on the defense, and you wanted to just go into, well, this happens and we do this, and it's just stick to the facts. And
we all know how the media works. They want to
Yes.
get an answer that they want.
Yes.
Not necessarily the one that you want to give them. So that was the focus, and there's a good outline in these materials about what to do and how to do it, and you're right. Stick to the facts, have a key message, have a factual answer, don't speculate on anything, and just get to the point, and that's it. And don't be brought into that speculation or get them to or answer a question in the way they want to hear it. So good stuff in there, do's and don'ts about interviews, and I think it's just a good refresher course. I mean, we've all been in that situation, but it was a good training, good things that we as and it brought to mind what Jose was bringing about the emergency response. We're all at some point, unfortunately, going to be put in that situation, and we want to be ready to handle it. And I have no doubt that since we're a very kind of, I guess, I want to say seasoned, but we've been around for a while. We know how to handle those types of things. But you never know, and it's always different. And I remember when you're in front of a camera and somebody's got a microphone in your face, it's just a different feeling sometimes, and you just got to stay calm and just be able to handle it. And practice is what makes it
I
perfect.
think one of the funny scenarios was there was a city and they were doing some plumbing work and they found a skeleton in the water system.
In the water system, yeah.
So, yeah, that could be a little scary. All right, last thing is with Foothill Transit, they are proposing significant changes in their express service to downtown Los Angeles. So the proposal that they're submitting for public outreach, and they're going to have 3 community meetings, is the express lines, the 490, 493, and 499. They're going to merge those with the 498 and 699. That the proposal is. And line 495, which starts at the City of Industry Park and Ride, will remain unchanged. So you can go on to Foothill Transit 2026 changes, and you can get all the information, and there's a survey there. If you can't attend one of the community meetings, you can do the survey online. And that's it.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm heading to Skag tomorrow morning.
Enjoy.
Yeah, so, okay.
Councilmember Yu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nothing to add.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Chen.
Everything that.
Thank you. And I just want to mention a few quick items. Earlier, we recognized Ron as the Older American of the Year. We're going to have a official recognition ceremony this Saturday at Live Oak Community Center at, let me double check, 5 p.m. So we're looking forward
Is
to
there
that.
any truth to the fact that he'll be rattling off a bicycle at that thing?
No speculation.
No,
E-bike. They wrap an e-bike.
Oh, boy.
An e-bike.
Let's not go there.
Hopefully with a helmet.
And then next, I do want to mention that the Temple Station Outreach Foundation is hosting a Tip a Cop fundraiser at Cloverleaf Bakery next Thursday.
Is it next Thursday? or
May
Friday?
14th.
Next Thursday, okay.
Next Thursday, May
Thursday?
14th at
Okay.
Cloverleaf Bakery from 11 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. So please come and join our wonderful team from Temple Station and at the same time support them. It'll be great. And I want to thank Cloverleaf Bakery for always being gracious hosts for that event. And then last but not least, I do want to wish a early happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out in our community.
Yeah, thank you.
So next we'll move to the last item, additional public comments on items not listed on the agenda. Is there anyone who would like to address council now? All right, then with that, we are adjourned. Have a good night.